Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning in once again to the Covering All Topics podcast, which will actually be going through a rebrand coming up. We are changing the name. We didn't think that Covering All Topics was going to be a lasting name. It kind of fit because of AJ and his last name and his nickname and all that, and it was cute and funny and it fit. But now we've evolved. We're more civilized. We're experts now. And with that comes a great responsibility to deliver a brand that our customers will appreciate. So, we are going to be changing our name. We'll save that for the next time. Our next episode that's going to drop is going to feature a new name, new logo, all that good stuff. Everything should still stay the same. Our subscription, if you subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you're getting this, should all be still the same, should come through the same, just you'll see a different name. And we're excited about that. So we're entering another level of official status. So thank you to everybody who supported us so far. This episode was great. I really hope you enjoy it. We really hope you enjoy it. We had Kyle Chisholm on. Kyle's awesome. I'd never met Kyle before. AJ has raced with him for many years. He's a really cool kid. And honestly, if he wasn't a racer, he would be an excellent broadcaster or podcaster because Kyle, I hope you don't take this the wrong way. He never stopped talking. We had a list of questions we were going to ask him and kind of flow the conversation, but he took off with it and it was really great. It was fun to have him on and he just kept going. So it was really cool. Then we had JGR rider Jeremy. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, I thought you did that as a joke.
No, I did.
Oh.
AJ told me before we started, he said, you should call him Jeremy Martin before and just rile him up a little bit. No, we had Alex Martin on. So, Alex, that was all AJ's idea and AJ's fault. We had Alex Martin on, and we talked about 250s. We talked about the tracks. We talked about his diet. We covered a bunch of topics, as we usually do on the Covering All Topics show, which will soon be known as a different name. But no, we had a great time. We really hope you guys enjoy it. And AJ, why don't you tell everybody about the winner of our giveaway for the Supercross live game?
Yeah, so the Collective Experience gave us a couple codes to give away for a video game. We had you guys, when was this? Last week's podcast, right? So
yep.
We gave you guys the week to enter the competition, follow the accounts, and post whether it's PS4 or Xbox One, and we ended up picking a winner who I now forgot the name of. What's the Instagram account, Bryce? Because I have the name, but I don't have the actual account.
Oh, well, I mean, it's Jordan Boswell. It's J Boswell 208.
So Jordan, hopefully you're listening to this, as we were hoping we picked somebody that actually listens to our podcast. But if not, we're going to post this on one of my stories as well, so we can get you the video game. You could start playing. But what we're going to do, guys, is as soon as we rebrand and get the other name going, I think we're going to start doing our crowdfunding. So with that, we're going to have a special subscription group that's basically, I think what we're most likely going to do, Bryce, is every other week we're going to do some kind of cool giveaway to that exclusive group. So whether it's video game codes so you can download the video game, or I know Maxis is going to be giving us a bunch of tires. Pretty much you'll be able to pay $5 a month man, if you could pay $5 a month and be winning tires, that's well worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll as that develops and we do the rebrand and we formalize all those plans, we'll let you guys know. But yeah, it'll be cool. There'll be a lot of opportunities to get some cool exclusive content, some giveaways that will be well worth it. So, AJ, anything else before we get into it?
No, just enjoy, sit back, listen to Chisholm teach me some lessons in the mental game, and then we cover a bunch of stuff with A-Mart. So, and we talk some crap to each other because A-Mart's an old friend, and it's a good one. I'm actually going to listen to this one back because it was a pretty cool conversation. So hope you guys enjoy it.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. Please welcome Kyle Chisholm. Kyle Chisholm, welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
What's going on? No worries. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're fresh off of the Triple Crown in Detroit. What are your first impressions about how the weekend went for everybody?
Well, for me, it didn't go that great. I had a pretty good crash on the second main. Just missed out on qualifying from the daytime by like less than a tenth of a second, and then had to go to LCQ, which obviously isn't ideal. got through out of there. AJ smoked everybody in that race. But it was all right. We made it in the main event, which was the most important thing. But it was okay aside from my crash in that second main, which is it was a pretty good one. I'm pretty sore. I was able to race the last one though. Wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to, but I tried to do what I could and got it in. So it wasn't the ideal weekend for me, but could always be worse. So
you threw me for a loop on that last main because I blew by you on the first lap and I figured you were hurt. And then I got tired. And next thing you know, I had to let you by because I was just exhausted at that point. I'm like, oh, okay, there goes Kyle.
Yeah, I had I crashed on the Dragon. I'm sure you saw me down, whatever, in that second main event. And I missed like the middle one. I kind of just charged it a little too hard. And that one, just before the top one kind of got wore down a little bit, like right, or at least in the middle where I was going. And I just charged a little too much. I hit like not the first one after the starter, just hit it a little too much and missed that middle one, and then dropped into the top one and just kind of nose picked the single afterwards, and then it just endoed me right into the berm, and the bike slammed me pretty good and was on top of me, and yeah, definitely. Luckily, nothing broken, nothing serious, but just super sore. My neck and my chest, like my sternum's kind of swollen today, and both my elbows, my shoulders, just sore. But yeah, between we only have it's like an hour, but by the time you're back at the truck and back up there to line up,
it feels like nothing.
It's like maybe 30 minutes. So I was like back there the whole time. I'm like trying to like just feel. I'm like things are hurting. You know how it is. The first like 30 minutes after you crash, you're kind of like, oh wait, that kind of hurts, and then something else pops up. Oh, that's kind of sore too. And so I was kind of just checking myself out and kind of figuring out, am I okay? Am I not okay? My chest and like my sternum and like it's like the bottom of the front of my neck, like right where your collarbones kind of meet right there. So at first I was like, dude, I think I broke both my collarbones. But the more I sat there, my collarbones weren't hurting as much as it was like I think more soft tissue and stuff. So I must have just like stretched my neck and kind of whiplashed and I wear a neck brace and Atlas. So I think that maybe kind of dug into my sternum a little bit, but obviously I'm hoping, thinking it saved my neck maybe a little bit. So yeah, I kind of just went through the motions of figuring out, am I okay? Can I ride? And then I was like, okay, well we get a hot lap in that last moto, so I'm gonna just go out on that and see how I feel, and then decide. And I was still kind of like 50-50 when we took off. I'm like, man, I'm gonna just at least go through the first few laps and see, and if not, I'll pull off. And so those first few laps, I was kind of like a little hesitant, trying to be cautious, and I didn't want to do something stupid where it's like, oh, your shoulder's a little weak or something, and have another crash because of that, and then that puts me out for a long time, or something like that. So yeah, first few laps, I just kind of settled in, and I was like, it hurts, but I can deal with it. So I'm gonna just try to get a little better each lap, and I started feeling a little bit better. I'm glad I raced, so I didn't end the night or end the weekend on like a bad note. So it still wasn't an ideal performance for me, but at least I finished the last main and got a few points, whatever. So yeah, definitely didn't know how it was gonna go, but I was able to finish and salvage a little something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you still went 17, 21, 18 for 18th overall. That was the frustrating thing for me is if I had passed, I think it was Brees at the end, it would have bumped me up like 3 more spots. So all that work through the whole night, and I only scored 2 dang points. I was like, son of a gun.
I know the Triple Crown format, man. I feel like it can like either really help you or really not hurt you, but like you could maybe go like 16, 17, 16 and get like a 12th overall, sometimes, or you could go 16, 17, 16 and get like 18th overall. You never really know how it's going to go. So for me, I'm like, man, just try to put in 3 consistent motos and hope it kind of works out. And maybe some other guys or even some top guys have some inconsistencies, and maybe you can actually, for the overall, if you can be solid in all 3 motos, get a good overall. So yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on the Triple Crown? This is the first one I've actually qualified for. So my thoughts are a little different now that I've raced it. I used to completely hate it. And I think still from like a viewing standpoint, I just watched that on TV a couple minutes ago. It's still anticlimactic to me. Like a moto win, it's not exciting. Like the last finish where Baggett almost got by Cooper Webb, it wasn't really all that exciting because it's just like a moto. It feels more like a heat race than it does a main event.
Yeah, I agree. And watching it, I mean, for sure, it definitely has that vibe. We've talked about it before. And, it almost took away from what Chad Reed was on the podium this weekend, which was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel the same. You know,
Right.
I think fans are just kind of confused. Like, does that count as a main event win or a main
Yeah.
event podium? Yeah, it
Yep.
does, but it's not as like a climax as a end of the night win.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like Chad obviously rode really good in the first one and got third. I think Reddy got third in the first one. And like,
Yep.
but after
Yep.
that, what did he go? Like, still rode
Five,
good, but
seven.
he wasn't on the podium. He was like around the top five or, like you said, 5-7. So you're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
well, he killed it in that first one, and he was still pretty good in the other ones, but, whatever. And then you see, oh, he's third overall. You kind of like, by the time you get to that third race and you watch it and it's over, you kind of forgot about the first race. You know what I mean? Like, because there was another
Right.
race in the middle, and they're like, oh wait, Chad got on the podium. Like, he could have got seventh, and I didn't watch all of the main events so far, so maybe they did. But like for example, when he got third, I think that I saw that race. He got quite a bit of TV time. But for the seventh and the third main event, he might not have been on TV at all. But then you look at it at the end of the night, he's on the podium, and you're like, shoot, I kind of forgot about him. They didn't even show him in that last race,
Right.
with the seventh. So
Yep.
it's like, see, I get it. It's kind of like it's it's weird. I think it's kind of cool because it's exciting, but then at the same time, I think sometimes, like, let's say you have a guy that goes like what Tomac went 1-1-6 and still won, but like, let's say he goes 1-1 and somebody else goes 2-2, and then the guy that went 2-2 is winning the last race, and the guy that went 1-1 is in second. Well, he doesn't need to pass that guy because he knows he's going to get the overall. So it might make for a boring race if they go out 1-2. Tomac's not going to charge and try to beat that
That's true.
guy because he doesn't need to beat him. He's just going to ride around in second place, take his 1-1-2, get first overall points, wherever. So I kind of thought about one thing they could do from that standpoint is make like some type of a bonus if you win a moto. Because in the flip side of that is you could have a guy that goes 1-15-1, or something like that, where it's like, well, shoot, overall it's not great, but two of the three motos he killed it, and maybe he gets a seventh overall with a 1-15-1, but at least he made up a couple bonus points for winning, one or two of the races. So
Do you think
I
like
think
doing
that
a championship point, like I remember Arena Cross used to do that for
yep,
they would have the head-to-head stuff, and if you won it, you get one
get
championship point.
yep, yeah,
That
I think that
I
would
could
be good. Yeah,
stir up the
like
That'd be
pot.
cool.
yeah, or even like I don't know if they could do it for the whole podium, but like look at Chad going 3-5-7. Like, what if he went 3-10-7 and got fifth overall? Like, that's still a decent night, but like, I don't know, maybe that podium should be rewarded a little bit more because they put him on TV, I think, each time, right? Between each main event. So, um, for sure, a win bonus point, I think they should do. Like, so for example, like I said, the guy that goes 1-15-1, he crashed out the second race. He should get a bonus point for that first one and a bonus point for the last win. And I think what that does is for the other example I made of like, say, one guy going 1-1-2 and the other guy going 2-2-1, you know, that gives that guy, the guy that went 1-1, instead of settling for second, maybe he goes for it a little bit more to get an extra bonus point. He knows he's got the overall, but maybe in the championship he needs to make up all he can, something like that. So maybe it gives them some incentive to not settle. In a triple crown, you could have a guy that goes 2-2-2 and win the overall, never even win one of the mains and win the overall. So that would maybe give somebody some incentive to try to get that moto win, whatever, instead of just settling, or something. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, look at even this past weekend. If Cooper Webb went second and Eli Tomac went seventh
yep,
in that last main, I think Webb would have won.
yep,
And because the tiebreaker, he placed higher than Tomac in that
yep,
third main.
yep,
Even so, yeah,
exactly.
that's
And he
a
didn't even
scenario
win
that could
a
have played
main,
out.
right, or whatever. So yeah, or Tomac would have got those bonus points and for winnings, at least one or two of the races, and yeah, it could have changed a little bit. So I think the Triple Crown's kind of cool. I definitely personally don't hope they go to that format for all of the races ever. I think it's cool to do, two or three. I think they have some things to iron out with it, like we just talked about with maybe changing the point structure a little bit, or rewarding the moto wins, something like that. So it's
What
cool.
are your
The
thoughts on it? As
qualifying,
like, do you think it suits your style well as far as the short
no,
motos and three of them?
for me, no. I mean, so I think the three motos does suit me because I feel like I'm normally a pretty consistent guy. So
Yep.
so my goal this weekend, obviously it didn't happen. I rode terrible in the first moto, rode tight, got pumped up a little bit. Second moto, I kind of started out a little slow and tightened up, but I actually started going, and I think I could have made a couple passes, but then I had the crash. And then last moto, I was just trying to salvage something, just trying to ride. So for me, like I said, it wasn't an ideal weekend, but before the main event started, my goal going in was like, if I got 14th the weekend before in Dallas, should have been 13th. I passed Hill, in the whoop section right before the finish, and he squared me up and got me back. So, I was battling for that 13th, 14th spot the week before. So going into Detroit, once I got into the mains, I was like, a realistic goal that, I want to do better, but a realistic goal tonight, if I can get top 15 in every moto, maybe that puts me close to a top 10 overall. Like I said, maybe a couple guys that are typically around 10th place, maybe they go 10, 21, 10, and I go 12, 12, 13, and I beat them, for the overall. So my goal was a top 15 each moto, try to get close to a top 10 overall. And so that's where I feel like, for me personally, I feel like I was capable of getting top 15, in all three motos had I rode my best and, performed at my best. And it could have helped me. The part I don't like is the main events are only 12 minutes. For me, I wish we had 3 20-minute main events, whatever. So I feel like that, that side of it helps me, the longer motos. And I work hard and train hard. I know we all do, but I, typically, there's some guys that can go fast for, 10 or 12 minutes, rather than if they know it's a 20-minute race, they're not going to be able to sprint. So then maybe they're pacing themselves more, something like that. So yeah, and the biggest thing that I don't like, I don't even mind the 12-minute main event thing as much. The biggest part of it that I don't like is the qualifying, the top 18 times, and then they do the LCQ
That's
race.
stressful.
Yeah, it is. So like, I suck. The reason I don't like
What
it.
did you miss it by
because I
one,
suck.
Kyle?
I was 19.
Were you one spot out?
I was 19th,
Yeah.
and I think Bogle was a 49.07, and I was a 49.
Yeah, you guys were super close.
He was a 49.07, and I was 49.10. So like 300ths of a second. And I'm like, dude, if I just jumped the double before the finish, if I just jumped out on the double, like another like 6 inches, I would have probably been in. And then the flip side of that is I never went 3-1 before the finish, like, probably the top 10 or so guys were doing. If I would have just jumped that, I think, I don't know what you think, AJ, but like for sure that was probably at least a half a second quicker. So like if I would have just jumped that, I think that would have put me like almost top 10 in lap times. Like it would have put me into like a mid 48. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that jump actually.
Yeah. So
you never jumped it.
I never jumped it. I was just being a puss about it, the whole time. So it was tough though. Like the corner was ruddy, which obviously made it tough. But the face seemed really short. Like it would be hard to get like enough height and like distance to really get it. And then like when I watched like some video of, other guys doing it, our video media guy videos practice and stuff for us. And like I would watch some of the other guys doing it, guys that were doing it, and they wouldn't get it clean every time. Like a lot of times I would case it, but it was so much faster just to at least get over that to triple over that big one, that even if you came up short, the fourth one was so little that it didn't really matter. It was just such a good, like a time saver. So all day I kind of contemplated like, just do it. It'll make you like not for sure. Like I'm riding good enough and feeling good enough and my times are good enough. If I just jump that thing one time on a good lap, just finish the lap with that thing, I won't have to do the LCQ. And I just never got the balls to do it. And I was like,
even if you had cased the crap out of it, it still would have been faster.
Just bounce up to the finish line. Yeah, it would be better. So, and I was 300ths. Bogle, I think, like I said, I was like 300ths quicker than me. So I'm like, it sucks, but we're all pretty close. There's a lot of good guys, riding this year, a lot of guys that are close. I think even like in that last practice, like Baggett and some of those kind of guys were just a few tenths quicker. And it's like, dude, that guy won a race and he's battling for wins and he's only, within a half a second. So it's tough. There's a lot of good guys. So yeah.
Did that suck watching it on? Cause you were in, and then who bumped you out technically?
Blows
it was Blows, right?
Yep. So after the A
So
practice,
were you
I
sitting there
was
just
18th.
refreshing your phone and just like,
So I went back to the truck. I was 18th after the A practice, and I didn't go on my phone right away. I actually just wanted to look on like our time, from the A practice times, just to make sure somebody didn't get me on the last lap or, whatever.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm 18th. I kind of like looked at my time and kind of tried to remember, down to like the 100th or 1,000th of a second,
Yep.
what I was. And then I put on the app, and then I went on the live timing on the thing on my phone, and Blows was like a 49.3. I'm like, okay, I got him by 2/10. I'm like, but he still has half the practice. I'm like, please don't, don't do better than, don't go any better. And then he put a couple laps later, he puts down like a 48.9, gets me by a couple tenths.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to LCQ. And, I kind of like, I try to, obviously been doing this a long time. I try to not be like, okay, I'm in. He's not going to beat me. Like, I try to not even get that mindset. I try to have the mindset of like, all right, well, I did what I can do.
Prepare for the worst.
It is what it is. If he beats me, we got to go out and race. Like, I'm going to have to go do like, if one person beats me in the B practice, I have to go race. So I'm like, just be ready for it. If I do. And obviously there's good riders in the B practice, as well. So, he rode really well, all weekend, I feel like. And he actually beat a few other good guys, like guys on factory bikes, out of that last practice. So, obviously he deserved to be in there, and yeah, I had to go to the LCQ. And obviously on my team, I'm teammates with Alex, Ray, and Adam Enticknap, and Alex was right behind me in the A practice, so he was 19th in A practice. So he was not mad at me, kind of jokingly, but like, fucker, like you made it in, and I'm, I got to do the LCQ, and then obviously Adam had to do the LCQ too, and then he was up in the top of the semi and must have been watching live timing, and he yelled down to me. I was in like the lounge downstairs, and he yelled down to me, and he's like, "We're all going to the LCQ, whatever." When Blows put in that 48.9 lap. So I was like, "All right, let's go. Let's go race." So yeah, definitely a bummer. But like I said, at the end of the day, the main goal is obviously.
How was your LCQ, by the way?
It sucked because you smoked everybody. To be honest, no, I rode terrible. My start wasn't that great, but I still came out like, I don't know, 6th or 7th. And I try to be careful, the first lap or two, just to kind of let things settle, and then try to pick off a few guys that I need to. And so I got into 3rd, and I had, I think Gardner was right. He was 2nd. And dude, he was getting so squirrely in the whoops, and the whoops are tough. That was probably the toughest, I would say, the whoops were all day, or the whole night.
Yeah,
was in that LCQ.
I agree.
It was they were slick and really edgy. You had to skim them. You couldn't jump them. They were still pretty good size, and there was nowhere that was really worn down. At least that I found that was like really good to go through them. So, yeah, I got up to 3rd, right behind him, and felt like I could make a pass, but he was getting really squirrely in the whoop. So I kind of I shouldn't have, but I've got that mentality of, okay, you're in, just don't do something stupid, and crash. So I kind of try to just like, if I can pass them, pass them. If not, just like I said, don't do something stupid. But then the guys, I still had a couple guys right behind me, and I'm like, well, I know I can hold them off, but I also like, either I need Gardner to pick it up, or I got to pass them because those guys are right there, and I don't want to let them, get close enough to make a pass on me. So he was getting squirrely in the whoops, and then I was riding too cautious, overly cautious. So I was riding like an idiot and kind of got tight and pumped up. And I'm like, all right, just finish it out. Just stay where you are. Just finish. And you were kind of, I could see you. I'd go over the triple, and you were just going into the whoops. And I'm like, man, I wish I was where he was. Just nice, clear track, and just put in your laps and finish it out. So, no, you rode good. And,
yeah, but I tell you what,
like I said,
that's a dangerous mindset to be in, because
Yep.
I was the same way, even leading the race, is that
Yep.
I got the whole shot and put in my head, I'm like, okay, put in 2 fast laps. I put in 2 fast laps. Next thing you know, I'm 5 seconds up. I'm like, oh shoot.
Yep.
But then
Now it's
2
like,
laps in, I'm 5 seconds up, and I go into
don't do
like
something stupid.
conservation mode and just like trying to protect myself.
Yep.
You can't do that. The next
You can't.
Oh, and then I just started riding terrible. Like the last lap of the race, I
that's-
rolled through the whole set of whoops. Like it,
Yep. That's how it is. You start telling yourself, you think about every possible thing that could go wrong. Like don't go too
So
fast. and
AJ,
wash the front
what
end
clicked for
and,
you this weekend?
For me, Bryce?
Yeah, sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off, Kyle.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, what clicked for you this weekend? Obviously, your first appearance in the Triple Crown, so congratulations on making those mains. It's no small feat with how stacked the class is this year, and how difficult that format is. But like, you qualified really well too, and you were what 21st?
Yeah, I was 21st, but
qualifying.
I was like right there time wise, so I was just a couple tenths off. And for me, Kyle could probably attest. I feel like everyone on the line knows how I work. It's very weird. I'm just hot or cold. Like AJ either shows up or he doesn't, and most of the time I don't. And this weekend I just rode loose. I didn't get like arm pump that bad. I just rode a little bit more like myself, I guess. But and
Well,
that's the
I
thing
mean-
with Kyle is like you don't really have those. You might feel it, but you don't show it. You're there every single weekend, and you're sorry, bears barking in the background. But every weekend, it seems to be a 14th to 17th place guy, and you're right there in the mix. And I can't bring that intensity every weekend, and that's been the story of my career.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and qualifying I suck for sure. That's what I don't like about the Triple Crown, like I said. But yeah, I mean for me the typical main event, the 20 minutes plus a lap, whatever, plays into my favor. I feel like I feel like I'm pretty solid, consistent, put in my laps, and I have enough speed, but I'm also consistent, at whatever speed I can run, and that's kind of where it puts me. Obviously there's a lot of good guys. I wish it was better. So like I'm always working to go faster for longer. That's what you have to do to get 10th place. Instead of 15th or 17th. So, yeah.
You're just a good racer. You don't seem as phased when people are around you where I'm not like that. If somebody's right on me.
Well, you're a head case, AJ. You're just a complete head case.
Big time.
No, I agree.
But that's
like, I'm for sure more of a racer. Like I'll show up, like I'll be like cautious through the whoops like in practice, but then like when it's race time and you got to go, it's like, all right, I'm going to send it and go for it, whatever. So I don't know. I think I've always kind of been like that, more of a racer than a practicer. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I would agree, I guess.
I wish I were that way. I mean, for myself, like, yes, granted right now, and I know that I say this every podcast, but like lack of seat time is clearly a big issue, but my mental state has been my issue throughout my whole career. Like if I could be a guy like you or LeMay that are getting in main events through the heat race every weekend and contesting for top 15s, that's where I feel like I should be.
Yeah.
But as a racer, I it's very difficult for me to get there. Like I work best in situations like the LCQ this weekend, for example, where I just get the whole shot and I'm basically just riding by myself.
Yeah.
If I got a 7th place start in that LCQ, I very well, even though I had the speed and then some to qualify, I very well may not have qualified because next thing you know, I'm in 7th place and I'm just riding the pace of the guy that's in 7th place. I really struggle with that.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody does. And like it's hard because everybody that we race with on the weekend is pretty damn talented, like riding a dirt bike. You know what I mean? Everybody's pretty good. And most everybody works pretty hard. Obviously, maybe some people a little more than others, but like we're all there for a reason. So it's not,
right.
I feel like the mental side of not our sport in general, but the mental side of the professional part of like what we do is it's like a big deal because like I said, we're all really good at what we do. We're all there for a reason. We all work pretty hard. And that's where the mental side of it can be like a deal breaker, I think between finishing maybe where you are capable of and where you actually do, whatever. So,
let me ask you this:
yeah.
when you're on the line of that LCQ this weekend, what thoughts are rolling through your head? Are you concerned that you're going to qualify, or are you convinced that you're going to qualify?
I mean, I would say a little, to be honest, I would say, and I'm not the best at this, whatever, like on the whole mental side of things. But I would say a little bit of everything, even though maybe that shouldn't be, I guess, as as you actually think about it. Like you just said, part of me is like, man, I hope I make it in. Like, oh, like, and the part of me that says that is, dude, this is a 5-minute race. I'm lined up with guys that, sure, maybe I beat most of the time, but in a 5-minute race, if I don't get the start, like I might not make it in. You know what I mean? Because it's a short race, and everybody's still pretty good. I'm not. I'm not. I'm trying to think of the proper English. I'm not like better enough than all these other guys to get, a last place start or
Yeah,
fall
that makes
over
sense.
and
Yeah.
still make it in. Whatever. So sure, I might be half a second a lap faster than everybody else, but like if I start in 10th and those other guys, the first 4 guys, I might not make it up to them, in time. So yeah, I mean, it
So
definitely.
needless to say, you're nervous on the line of it.
Yeah, like I'm nervous, but then at the same time, I'm also looking at it, and no disrespect, obviously, to you or anybody else. I look at it like I feel like I'm the best guy on this gate. I should get the
Yep.
whole shot and win this race. But then
Mm-hmm.
look this weekend. Literally, like down the middle of the 2 extremes that I just said is what happened for me personally. Is what happened. I was concerned that I'm like, what if I get a bad start and I can't get up and make it in? But then the other side of me was saying, you're better than everybody else on this gate. You should get the whole shot and you should win this race. So I actually got not a terrible start, but not the whole shot. And I caught up to 3rd and probably should have got at least 2nd,
Hey,
but whatever.
can you remind us
And
again who got the
yep,
whole shot?
I think AJ got the whole shot, right? I don't even know because I was too far behind.
Yeah. Oh, but
So
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I think you
by a
did.
mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, like, so like right down the middle is what happened. So that like, and that's, I think everybody's human, even the top guys. And for me, I've been around a lot of the top guys in their prime or, whatever, in their career, like, James Stewart and Chad and guys like that. So like, they're all human, they all kind of think similar things. And there's times that I'm like, dude, like, like, like with Chad, I'm like, dude, why are you like, you're Chad fucking Reed. Like, what are you worried about or nervous of or this or that? Like, you're fucking Chad Reed. But like, they're all just human. We're all human on the gate. And like I said, we're all good. We're all good riders. Everybody's like, look, you just said you might have got an 8th place start and just rode around in 8th place and nobody, and no, not that nobody would have noticed you out there, but you know what I mean? Like, you'd have just kind of,
Right.
that's is what it is. Instead, you got the damn whole shot, checked out, and fucking, and you won, and you made it in the main event. Like, you killed it. So, like, that's like, either way could have happened. Like, you could have done that and finished that way. You could have got the whole shot and won. Or, like, for me, I was kind of just mediocre. Like, I didn't get a terrible start. I didn't get the whole shot. I didn't win. I didn't not qualify. I got 3rd. I kind of did what I needed to do, but it wasn't my best. So, it's tough. I think you kind of go through all of those things, and I think everybody kind of does that. And also, like,
do you want to know what I was thinking on the line? You don't want to know what I was thinking.
What?
Just and I like lap time wise,
Yeah.
looking at the chart before we went out into that LCQ, there was no reason I should have not qualified. But sitting on that line after I picked my gate, Juliana Daniel came up to me and interviewed me about like my process as far as picking the gate. And as soon as that interview ended, I'm like, I don't stand a chance. I felt ridiculously not confident.
Yeah.
I was almost
I
positive.
hate you for that. I really, you drive me crazy with that stuff.
Well, you know
That's
why?
been your problem forever.
I got a really crappy start in the practice start in the 3rd time qualifier when they send us off the gate. A terrible, terrible, terrible start. And I'm like, all I could think about was how I came off the line for that. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to get a shitty start and this is going to suck. And this is what I'm thinking. I can't talk.
I want to
get
just
that
slap
out
you.
of my head.
Like, I wish other AJ were on the line with you and just smacked you upside the head. Just be like, dude, snap out of that.
If you could understand my level of nervousness, it's crazy. It's like uncontrollable. I feel like I'm going to crap my pants.
Yeah, but see, I feel like, to some extreme or to some, amount, everybody kind of goes through the same thing, for the most part. Like, I think it's just normal. We're trying to perform and compete, like with the spotlight on you, even though it's the LCQ, like you work all week and all off season or whatever it is, everybody's a little different. And it's all down to that 5 minutes of your life. That's like, it feels like it's your whole life for that 5 minutes of that race. And it's like, the older I've gotten and the longer I've done this, the more I've realized like, well, I've started to like kind of try to tell myself, because I battled with the same things, and still do. I think everybody does, like I said, to some extent. But like, I've also tried to get down to like, you know what? I have a beautiful wife that I love at home. I have 2 beautiful kids, 2 daughters. Like, if I go out and hole shot this LCQ and win and kill it, awesome. If I fucking suck and I get 10th place, I'm still going
Who
home
cares?
to my wife, my
Right.
family. It was 5 minutes of my life. Like, don't let it define you. Don't let it, that was just you in those 5 minutes of your entire life. You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to perform your best all the time. So that's so now fast forward a little bit. I struggled going into the main event this weekend. I rode, my start sucked, in the LCQ. It wasn't great. It wasn't what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ride my best at all. So I rode press in the morning. I did like two sessions in the morning on Friday, and I felt really good. I got the track done really quick. I felt great all day in practice. Even though I didn't make it in out of practice, I was really close. Just my performance on the bike, I felt like I rode really good. Like, sure, I could have picked it up a 10th of a second somewhere and got in. You could always do better. But like, if I really want to look back and analyze my practice and look at my laps that I did, I feel like I rode pretty damn good. Like, there's a few guys that were just a little bit better than me. So all day rode pretty good. I was happy with it. Never got a hint of like tightness, arm pump, anything, holding my breath, nothing. And then I go in the LCQ. I don't get a very good start. I ride super cautious. I get arm pump. I ride like an idiot through the whoops, which is usually one of my best spots, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Almost crashed through them. And like, but I still put it in the main event, which is the main goal, right? Like, the LCQ doesn't really even count for anything, as long as you make it into the main event. So
Right.
the next like 2 hours, all I did was sit there and think about how bad I rode in the LCQ. It like overshadowed how great I felt all day in practice, how, just all of that. And I think I went into that first main event, and what did I do in the first main event? My start was better. I got that down, but then I rode terrible. I rode just like I did in the LCQ. I rode cautious, not because I was in a good position, but just in general. The track was tough. It was a ruddy, a track that could bite you, if you weren't, on it. And I just rode tight and nervous and just didn't ride my best. And then that led me to the second main event to, I'm not doing that again. I gotta ride my best. I pushed it a little too much, and I made one stupid, tiny little mistake that could have ended my season. And luckily it didn't. I'm just sore. But, just stupid little things like that can like snowball, and they're things that I know better than, but it's still just hard to control. Like, you probably know better than to sit on the gate and say, oh, dude, I don't have a chance to make it out of this. You shouldn't say that, but like, it's hard to control it sometimes. So I think it's as unnormal as it seems. I think it's normal for us as athletes and performers and trying to be the best at what we do, all magnified into like a short little period of time, whatever. So it's as unnatural and stupid as it is. I think it's normal, just like your mechanic writes on the pit board, breathe. Well, to somebody that's sitting, at the
They're
mall,
thinking, well, duh.
would you need to remind them to breathe? No, but we do. Like, it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's just a part of what we do, I think. So yeah, it's tough. I think that's something we all battle, that whole mental side
Yeah,
of our sport.
I think part of it for me is that I have to remind myself that you and everyone else is to some extent having those thoughts as well, and is
Yep.
nervous as well. Because I think
Yep.
sometimes I'm on the line thinking I'm the only guy crapping my pants.
Yeah,
When
and I'm the same.
there's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And even as we sit here and talk about it, and we sit here and talk about how I was feeling on the line of the LCQ, like my heart's beating fast, my palms are sweating, I'm getting like those physiological symptoms of tightening up as we're sitting
Yep.
here talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that
Yep.
pisses Bryce off, and it gets everyone mad around me because I'm such a head case. But
It's because we know how capable you are and how talented you are on a bike.
So
it's that's what's frustrating outside looking in.
So Bryce, with you saying that, here's like, and I'm kind of gonna speak for you, AJ. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least I feel like this sometimes. So like what you just said, he's so capable and blah blah blah. The hard part is that 99% of the guys that line up are also capable, but only 4 guys make it in. You know what I mean? So like, as much as we can tell ourselves, like, you're capable, like I just said, I'm on the gate telling myself, I'm better than everybody on this gate. I should win this race. But at the same time, I'm thinking, but what if I don't get a good start? These guys are pretty good too. Like, he was within a half a second of me. If he gets the whole shot and I start 10th, I'm not going to be able to catch him. Like, there's those thoughts too. So that's where, like, and that's where everybody's a little different. Maybe AJ, maybe on the gate, you were like, maybe the majority of your thought was, shoot, I'm not going to make it. I shouldn't make it, blah, blah, blah. And the majority of my thought was, you should win this race and at the very least be in the top 4. Like, even if you get a bad start, you can get a 10th place start and still get top 4. Like, that was the majority of my thought, but it still crossed my mind that, what if I don't ride good? What if I get a bad start? What if these other, like, what if you and Adam Enticknap and 2 other guys ride the best of their career ever, and I ride like the worst of my career ever? They're going to beat me. You know what I mean? Like, and then like those thoughts go through your mind, you know, as much as I knew, hey, I should win this race, there's still other thoughts too. And it's hard to control that when you're sitting on the gate until you're down in that position. It's just hard to explain it, the feelings that go through you. And like I said, I think everybody to some extent has that same thing happen. And I think it just comes down to who can control it the best and, you know, whatever, you know, just work through it the best. And I've tried to, in my old age, whatever you want to call it, tried to just focus on myself. Like, okay, so what if AJ gets the whole shot and rides the best he ever does? All I can control is what I do. So if I get the best start that I can do and I ride the best 5 minutes plus 1 lap that I can ride, that's all I can do. And if I do that and I finish 8th, I can't really be disappointed in myself. If I do that and I win, great. That's great. But no matter what, as long as I can just do my best, that's all I can control. And that's kind of, so like what I was saying about practice during the day, sure, I can look back and be like, dude, I could have picked it up a 10th of a second easily. So like, maybe it wasn't my best, but I really feel like it was my best. Like, maybe in hindsight, I could go out there and go a 10th of a second faster. But in those 8 or 10 minutes that I got to do it, I felt like I rode pretty damn good. Like, I can honestly walk away getting 19th in practice, not qualifying right out of practice, but still be okay with it because I felt like my personal performance was pretty damn good. It was close to the best I could do on that day. So, you know, and then flip the script. I made it in the main event out of the LCQ, but it was probably one of the worst times I rode my motorcycle all season so far. So like, it's so close. We're all such good riders and we're all so close, you know.
Well, I tell you what, from the outside looking in, for you, you seem very composed and consistent. So
yeah, and I try to be,
where,
and so that's my philosophy of, like what I just said, do my best, and that's all I can control. Like, even when I'm on the gate with in the main event with Tomac and Roxon and all those guys, it's like, as much as the realist in me knows that, dude, you're not going to beat those guys. You're not going to. But what if I rip the whole shot and I just ride the best that I know I'm capable of, and one of those guys crash in the first turn and just don't ride their best? Maybe I can get a 10th, maybe I can get an 8th place, you know, whatever, instead of a 15th. Like, so I have to go up there with the mentality of get the best start you can, ride the best you can, no matter what. And like, if that guy's behind you and he passes you, that's because he's better than you in that moment. Maybe he's better than you 99.9% of the time, you know, the last 3 years, but all you can do is do your best, and wherever you finish, you finish. You know, if it's
silly
22nd,
question,
great.
but
If it's 10th, great.
silly question. When you're on the line for the main event, do you want to get the whole shot? Like,
So
do you?
that's a good, like, that's a good racer's honest, like, personal question. Like, so sometimes yes, sometimes no. And I'll elaborate on that. I'm sure you could probably have similar answer.
Yeah, I agree
and
with that. Yep.
Look at somebody like Justin Bogle. Like, he's a very good starter. He gets the whole shot a lot. Look at like Outdoors last year. Like, how do you, and I know he's on a different bike this year, but how do you go from getting like almost every hole shot to your starts being bad. Sure, he switched bikes, so maybe I'm sure that's part of it. But like, as a racer, you just know, like, when you have a day in practice and qualifying, just you're feeling great and you're like, you feel invincible and nothing can stop you. And sure, maybe you're not going to win the race, but like, you're just going to ride the best. You can just feel it. Like, everything's clicking. You can't even do anything wrong if you try. You go up on the gate and you want the whole shot. Like, you want it. You're
You
getting the
will
whole
yourself
shot.
to it.
Yep. No matter what, you're getting the whole shot. Like, or you're getting a good start and you're going for it. And then there's days when you struggle all day. You're not jumping one section. Like, why would you want to get the whole shot in front of Tomac, Roxon, Marvin, all those guys? Why would you even want to start in front of those guys and like get in their way? Like, you feel like you shouldn't be out there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all have those thoughts. So like,
Oh yeah.
I think they all do to some extent. You know what I mean? So there's sometimes when I'm like, dude, I'm going for this whole shot. I want to rip this whole shot in the main event, even if it's from the outside. And sure, I might fade back to 10th within the first 3 laps, but I'm going to just race with those guys as long as I can. And maybe I'll finish 12th instead of starting in 19th and getting 16th or 15th. Maybe I can get the whole shot and finish like 12th. So like, there's days when you're feeling great and like, that's my goal. And there's days that it's not that I don't try, you're still trying, but it's hard to explain. It's like, you just don't feel like you belong, whatever, when things don't go right. So, and again, that's something that I've tried to work on and say, you know what, forget about everything that's happened. And in this moment, why you still could perform your best. Even if you sucked all day, that jump section that I'm not doing, I know I'm capable of doing it. I just need to trust myself. So forget about everything else. Rip this whole shot, ride your best, and see where you finish. Just see what happens. Maybe 5 guys will take each other out, and you'll go from 13th to 8th on the last lap, or something. You just never know. So just forget about what's happened and do your best in that moment. So like, that's what I've tried to kind of do. And but at the same time, it's still, as much as I know that, just like breathing, as much as you know to breathe, it's hard to do it sometimes. It's hard to actually do it.
That's a good way to look at it, because for me, in the moment when I'm on that starting line, all it can take is for that one little section, that one triple in the rhythm that I'm not doing. Three of the whoops in the whoop section that are giving me issues all day long. As I'm sitting there on the line and I visualize, okay, what if I get the start and I visualize myself getting the start? What's going to happen when I get to that section? I'm going to blow it anyway. So why would I want to get the start?
Yeah.
And that sounds terrible.
I'm just gonna throw out there, just as a fan watching you on TV in particular, AJ, is this comes through the screen, and I want maybe you to even think that, get that in the back of your mind, that people perceive that. So like, for example, this weekend, you could just tell that, especially after watching your start in the LCQ, we know your bike's fast. We know you can start. You've had some great starts this year and in the past. You can get out in front of these guys. You hit the main events at night and you're starting 19th.
Yeah,
20th,
on purpose.
on
purpose.
So, I know,
AJ,
I know you've acknowledged that, but why? Just go for it and just see what happens. You know what I mean? You have just as much capability as anybody else.
AJ, if you could take your start from the LCQ, if you could take that start and like bottle it up and do it in the heat race, do you think you would have got the whole shot? Like, knowing how the start felt, how you went off the gate, how you went into the first.
It was one of the best starts of my life.
If you did that in the heat race, do you think you probably had a pretty good chance at the whole shot?
Yeah, but then what?
Yeah, exactly. So like, that's hard. So that's what you got to like look past and just not. You got like that voice. You have to like tune that out and not listen to it. You know what I mean? But with that said, like I just said, I think everybody to an extent is a victim of that, or whatever you want to call it. Like, maybe Tomac did that like 2 times all year, whatever. Maybe there was 2 days that he just didn't feel good. He was uncomfortable with the track, uncomfortable with his bike. For him, maybe it's not starting last, but maybe it's starting like 13th. And he knows he's got to start in the top 3 to win the race, or whatever it may be. Obviously that's a bad example because he got bad starts and won this weekend. But you know what I mean? Like, there's against the competition that he's racing against, those top 5 guys, he's expected to win. He's got to start up there to win for the most part. So like there might be a weekend when he's not comfortable on his bike, he's not comfortable on the track, just maybe everything is against him. So he just doesn't will himself to that start. And he gets like a 10th or 12th place start, and he gets up and gets a 4th or a 5th that night. And then everybody goes about their business on to the next weekend, where maybe it could have changed if he had the mindset of, you know what? I'm not feeling it today. I'm not comfortable on my bike today on this track, not comfortable with the track. Things aren't clicking, but you know what? Rip this whole shot and maybe salvage a podium or get a second, battle for the win, get in third, and maybe the top 2 guys, go down in the last corner and you still win, even on a bad day. That like, I bet you anything, maybe they won't admit it because, whatever, I will, but like maybe Tomac has 2 of those days, or 2 of those moments all season where like you might have fucking 16 out of 17 rounds, you might have that moment.
Sure do.
I might have it 7 out of 17 rounds, whatever. So like, I think everybody has that to some extent. It's just, it's how you can control it, how you can respond to it. And like I said, for me this weekend and everybody, forget about what's happened in the past. Why can't you be great in this moment? Like race 2 is different than race 1. Just because you sucked in race 1 doesn't mean you have to suck in race 2. Even though it's the same track, same bike, it's only an hour later, you don't have to suck again, whatever. But the thing is we're all so good and we're all so close, really, that every little bit matters. And little bit, in our case, is a big difference. For example, 0.03 of a second separated me from racing the LCQ and not racing the LCQ. So every tiny bit matters in our level of the sport, whatever. So yeah, I think it's stuff we all
You're
deal
spot
with.
on.
Yeah.
You are spot on.
Yeah. So
well,
yeah,
we covered a lot. We didn't cover
We have
anything
covered a lot.
race breakdown wise, but I did love
Yeah.
that conversation. I might have to hire Kyle as my my mental coach.
no, like
actually,
so that's something I've worked on a lot in my career. And again, I'm not like, there's a lot of guys like me that I could use instead of myself as an example, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys like you that I could use that as an example instead of you, AJ. But like, so I would say, like, let's compare you to me, and like I said, you could get somebody similar to me and similar to you, but whatever. Let's compare you and me. Like, maybe you look at it like, shoot, like I just need to try to get in the main event, and that's like maybe not just the goal, but like that's the goal. Where like for me, I expect to get in the main event, but I want to get like close to that top 10. So like it's like a little different goal at the end of the day, but we're still like on similar pages, right? So like so like where you're like, oh, I don't deserve to even be in the main event on this LCQ. I'm like, hey, you better fucking get top 4 in this race. You should win this damn race, but you better get top 4. Where you're like, man, I know I can get top 4, but maybe I won't even make it in. Like, it's just that little difference. So then the next example,
and that's the world of difference.
Yes. And then, so the next example would be like, say, trying to think of like somebody else, maybe right now in Aaron Plessinger, he's not winning. He's not even top 5ing. I don't think, but like, I don't think he's gotten any, but like, he's like a top 10 guy right now. So he's like, shoot, I know I better be top 10, but how do I be top 5 or on the podium? And then you have somebody like Tomac, who's like, why better on the worst night be a top 5 guy, but I should freaking win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's each little level of what we do that mental side of it matters, and every little bit matters. So the difference of you, AJ, getting to like, like you said, where I am, like a 14th, 15th, 16th, 17 guy, every weekend, for you to do that every weekend, you've got to do this or that, or on the mental side a little better. For me to get to that Plessinger, Plessinger right now, that around 10th place, level, I got to get a little better in all these areas and mentally. And then for Plessinger, he's got to get a little better to get the top 5. And then Tomac, to be at the top, to be first, he's got a little bit be better in all those areas, and so he doesn't get a fourth or a fifth. It's just, I think it's the same for everybody, just to a different extent and at a different level of the pyramid of professional racing, whatever. So, yeah, like I said, I think
Well,
it's similar for everybody.
well said. I mean, for me, I guess the struggle has just been faking it till you make it, so to speak. Like the result has to come before that firm belief comes, where I think
Yep,
some can have that firm belief without having the result yet,
yep, yep,
which is huge. For me,
yep,
it's hard for me to picture myself in the top 15.
yep,
But this weekend, if I had just rode aggressive the whole time and not given up, a top 15 might have been possible.
yep, yep.
And yeah,
You got to get the momentum back because you were there. You were there. You were there on 250s. You've had good finishes in the 450 class. You just need to get that momentum back.
Yeah,
right,
it's hard.
right.
Like,
But that's what I'm saying. The result
Yep.
for me has to come first. So now that I got this weekend out of the way, I'm going to go into next weekend probably like, let's hope, like a different person. I'm going to actually
Yep.
have some firm, solid belief that I can grasp onto.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what you have to do. Like, so, like I think I said at the beginning of the call, like I just got back to Florida. I've been in California. I just from Detroit, I came back to Florida, so I'll stay back here, for the rest of the season. And I'm just putting clothes away in my closet, and like in my closet, I had the results sheet from Paris from Bercy from 2011, the year that I won. The whole overall for the weekend, and I got first. Tomac got second, and I think Weimer got third. And I'm looking at, I literally just like 3 hours ago or 2 hours ago was looking at a sheet of paper from a professional race that was 3 days long, three main events long, or, over 3 days. And I'm at the top of the list and Tomac is second. And I'm like, so Bryce, like I get on your end of it, like you're like, well, hey AJ, you've had the result before. So like, what do you mean you need to get the result first before you'll believe? Like you've gotten it before. But like in our sport, everybody forgets about you forget about what happened at Anaheim on Anaheim 2, let alone Anaheim 1. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of forgets. So it's like
Right.
me beating Tomac at Paris, pretty much, straight up, he beat me one of the 3 nights, I think, and I won the overall. And he's got a number 1 on his bike. Like he's a champion. In the in in the U.S. professional racing. Like, so why should I go on the main event on the starting gate and think I can't beat him? But it's because I haven't beat him lately. Stuff changes in our sport. So, like I said, by Vegas, nobody remembers what happened, even during the West Coast, for the most part. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yep.
it's hard. We race so many weekends in a row. I even forget about what happened some weekend. You know what I mean? Like, good or bad. So it's hard. Like, I get what you mean, AJ, that you want the result before you'll believe. Which it's a double-edged sword. Like, but sometimes you need to believe to get the result. And then like Bryce, I get it. Like, you're like, well, dude, you've gotten it before. Like, why do you forget about that? Just remember that. But it's hard because it's a short-term memory sport. Whatever for the teams, for team managers, for riders. As much as it shouldn't be, I think that's where, as the rider, all you can control is yourself. And what I've tried to do over my career is, regardless of whether I'm racing for a factory team, for a satellite team, or a private team, or racing out of my pickup truck, all I can control is myself and do my best, whether I'm on a factory bike or out of my pickup truck. And that's all I can do. And so that's why I've always kind of like, like the thought also crosses through my mind, dude, everybody on this starting gate at some point in my career, I've beaten straight up or battled with or whatever. So like, why can't I beat them? Whatever. But at the same time, right now in my career, they're better than me. Like, I also have to be realistic and realize that, because if you don't, then you're just going to be bummed all the time. If I really went up there and go, dude, I beat Tomac
Right.
at Bercy, I should beat him tonight. Like, and I keep not beating him year after year, I'm going to like be so down on myself. So like, you got to be realistic, but you got to believe it. It's a fine line that we all walk, because we're all so good. Like, as much as we've said this over and over, like I said, I just wanted to make that example of, I get what you mean, Bryce, by, dude, you've done it before, but I also get AJ's side of, yeah, but I need to do it like now to believe. Like you just said, you did it this weekend. Now going into Atlanta, you'll believe. And you're like, well, shoot, why didn't maybe I didn't really ride that much differently, but I just mentally, I did it differently. Why couldn't I have done that at Anaheim 1, or whatever? So that's, like I said, it's just, we all battle the same demons, I think, with what we do.
It's a
because
roller
we're all
coaster.
professionals. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, Kyle, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day about this stuff. We could
Yeah.
sit here and talk for 5 hours, but we got to get Amart on here. Thank you for driving to wherever you drove to, because we could hear you perfectly clear that last bit. Yeah.
I'm like a mile from the house.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm like a mile from the house. So sorry about the beginning. But yeah.
So for next time we have you,
this is my
drop
spot.
a pin on that location. Next time we got you. Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep.
So yeah, no, anytime. I appreciate having me on, and enjoy talking to you guys.
Absolutely. Cool, Kyle. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, yeah. Thank you guys. See you this weekend.
All right. Thanks again, Kyle. That was great. We really appreciate you coming on. And without further ado, we're going to get right into it with Alex Martin. So welcome, JGR rider Alex Martin.
Whoop, whoop. Hey, Troll. What's up, buddy?
Not much, AJ. Just living the Florida life. Sun's shining. Just got done mowing my lawn.
Did you not ride today? Why are you slacking?
Because I mowed my lawn. That was the priority today.
Is that your cardio for the day?
Yeah, that was a cardio. No, I did
What
an hour
days do you
ski
ride?
erg earlier. I've been riding in season. I've just been doing like Tuesday, Thursday, or like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then press Friday, race Saturday. So, but I've been kind of taking, yeah, pretty normal. I have rode Mondays in the past, but I kind of prefer to do like some moderate to light cardio and just kind of get things done Monday and then ride Tuesday, Thursday. So.
Well, Alex, thanks for coming on and doing this, taking time out of your busy day and schedule of lawn mowing to come and join us. We were just chatting with Kyle Chisholm. We had a nice
he was mowing his
him.
lawn too.
Was he?
Well, he was crunching leaves, he said.
It's a Florida
he was doing some
He's
type
back
of yard
in Florida
work.
too. Yeah.
I'm glad to see everyone in Supercross does yard work on Mondays. I'm not the only one not riding, so it makes me feel better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more productive than you are, regardless. So,
100%.
Well, hey,
do you have a dog, Alex? Do you have a dog?
Nah, 2 cats.
All right, so yeah, you're definitely more productive than AJ. He's
I went to
the
the
dog
park
butler
today. Yeah,
you're a dog butler for the most of the. That's your day job.
Yeah, I've had a busy day with Bear. Give me a break.
Oh, geez.
So I haven't seen much of you. You've been hiding out. You've been avoiding me for some reason. I talked to you for 2 seconds this weekend. Other than that, I haven't seen you. What have you been up to?
I don't really know how I managed to avoid you the first 2 races, but it was good to see you for a split second there. But just been enjoying the JGR Suzuki team. It's been fun. I've been really enjoying. Had a good off season, productive, kind of not many crashes or anything, and just kind of got my training in. And I was excited to go racing up in Minneapolis and almost got the podium there. Just missed it. Kind of a bonehead move on my part.
Yeah,
missing out on the podium with 1 lap to go. But this weekend in Detroit we showed some good speed, so it's I'm just happy to honestly be healthy and like going to the races every weekend.
You look good, and you know what, the bike looks good too. And I'll say the same for like Dakotas and the guys on your team. The bike, like those Suzukis, look really good in the whoops, especially for every single one of you being short. I mean, KP's
right.
short too, right? Well, like all of you guys.
Yeah,
you even good.
Alex, you even said that in your race day live with Jim. There, you were saying how you like the chassis on that new bike.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of nice because coming from KTM the last few years, I always felt like I just didn't have a level of comfort in the whoops. And signing with JGR Suzuki, it's not something that I knew was going to happen. It was kind of a gamble because obviously we know the motor on the 18 wasn't exactly maybe up to snuff. But the 19's been just nothing but pleasant surprises. The motor is really good and it's definitely better than the 18. And the chassis was even better, which is something I wasn't really expecting because the 18 chassis was already pretty good. But just comparing back to back in September, riding the bike and it was night and day better in the whoops, cornered well, and the motor was better. So it was like, we got a good package here, and I was excited to go racing like right off the bat on the thing. And like I've said several times, I've always been the guy to jump in the whoops. the quickest moment possible. I'm the guy that goes 3.33 or whatever through the whoops. So it's kind of a nice change to be able to be the guy skipping them now.
Although I will say, Bryce, did you see the slow-mo shot of Amart trying to get through the whoops that one lap? Oh my God.
I didn't know if you were going to bring that up.
Poor little guy.
Dude,
like the
to
seat
be honest,
hit your butt and just no feet. Like,
I know, but the thing is, it's like, okay, I say I'm good in the whoops, but doesn't mean you have to. Ralph and Ricky are repeating it over and over, like, "Oh, Al's so good in the whoops." Like, dude, it's just bound to happen that I'm gonna have a moment. You know,
they
if you keep
jinxed
talking about it.
It was a good save.
They seem to jinx a lot. I feel like they jinx a lot of people.
Yeah,
as soon as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've heard Ralph say like, "Oh, Tomac's got it in the bag, and he's still got like a lap left." And it's like, he's kind of ballsy, I feel, because like, dude, shit can happen on the last lap, no problem. I mean,
even when Cooper Webb was in the lead in that last lap in the last corner, was it Baggett behind him? And I thought he was going to catch him, honestly. And they're like, they pretty much gave Cooper the win, and he felt the pressure behind him, and I was a little nervous. I was like,
yeah, that was
they get ahead of themselves a little too much.
Almost a photo finish there. I thought it was pretty close at the end. Him and Baggett.
Yeah. What happened? I'm looking at your results. You went 10-3-6. What happened with that 10? Did you crash in the first one?
I went off the track in the first corner. I came in really well. I think I was top 3, but I got pushed off. So I went to the plywood, and I couldn't get back on the track until the end of the rhythm. So I think I got back on the track and like maybe literally dead last.
And then you just ran out of time?
Kinda, yeah. It wasn't the best experience for my first Triple Crown. That's the first one I've ever done, but it was like,
oh right,
it kind of sucks because everyone's so fresh and ready that like in 10 minutes you can't really do anything. If you're that far back, it's tough.
Right. Okay, we asked Kyle the same question. What are your thoughts as a whole on the Triple Crown format?
I'm not the biggest fan. I think like last year, so last year I didn't race, and as a spectator, I didn't really like it. And maybe call me old school, but then now racing, I don't really think it's the coolest thing ever. Like I'm just a fan of like a heat race, and then you kind of have this build up, and you have like a finale. Whereas I feel like you don't get that with the 3 mains. So we're out there riding more. We're not getting paid anymore. There's no bonuses if you win one over the other or get on the podium. I just think it's like a lot more for the same result.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much been the analogy that we've been making, is that it's very anticlimactic. The feeling at the end of one of the main event wins just isn't the same as a end of the night show win from a traditional race.
And I use this example of Baggett and Webb, almost a photo finish. Like it was not nearly as exciting as the Webb versus Roxon photo finish, because that was a main event. You know what I mean?
Quote unquote main event.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. So you ride for teams, so you know more than I would. You guys aren't bonused per moto for the Triple Crown format. You're bonus per overall, just like you normally would be.
I'd have to look in my contract. It might have some things in there, but to be honest, I don't remember if there's any like accelerators in there or not for like a moto win or whatever. But I know from the AMA, there's no difference in payout for sure.
Right. And for a guy like you, you're bonus just for top 3 typically, right?
Yeah. Yep. I think all the factory teams are pretty much top 3 bonuses, unless you design something that's like top 5 or top 10, and it's just less for each position.
Right. And you have a heat race bonus probably too?
Yeah. Yep.
I got the LCQ win bonus. That's what I got structured for me. That's all that matters. Mm-hmm. So that's all I need to do is win an LCQ and I make money.
But way to set the bar high, AJ. Good job.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I just think it's so cool. Like, and I know you've been on teams for a few years now, but I don't know. I find it awesome with you and Phil. Like, you guys both deserve it. Like, you both work your butts off. But especially with JGR now, just the times that we were at Club MX and we would always go there all together and ride the JGR track. Is it pretty awesome riding for that team? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Or are you just used to it?
I mean, it's cool because I do have that prior experience of like being a privateer club and going up and riding JGR. So I know a lot of the guys. So that was kind of cool. Just signing with the team is I didn't really have to meet or get to know all these new faces. Like I kind of already knew everyone underneath the tent, but Having said that, it's been a lot of fun being up there and being able to be around those guys again, Johnny and Dean, and my mechanic Lee, and a lot of the guys they're really cool guys and fun to be around. And the team atmosphere is real laid back and chill, and it's just a bunch of group of guys that kind of this is their passion, and they've been doing it for a long time, and it's just kind of it gives me a little more motivational to like train hard and try and get the team and the bike up there on the podium.
Are you riding at club at all, or are you strictly at JGR in California?
No, I'm mainly down in Florida, in Claremont. I'm riding at the Sandbox with like Ken and Chase and Adam and those guys. So in the off season I went up to yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm out of
California.
The loop, man. I don't know, man.
Bro. I haven't been
well,
California.
AJ and I tease each other that we're like the podcast with the least professional knowledge.
Like we have zero statistics. We don't know who won last weekend, but we just yeah, that's us.
You're trying. It's all right.
Yeah, we're giving it give it a whirl.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to hold on. I want to back up because I want to get Amart's thoughts on a couple things we didn't have a chance to talk to Kyle about. First of which is the track so far. What your thoughts on the tracks are? I know you switched to the East Coast because you're well, at least what I'm speculating, you're more comfortable on the East Coast. You're located on the East Coast now. How does the East Coast compare to West Coast, and how do the tracks this year stack up to previous year tracks? That's been a topic that we've covered several times now, so I just want to keep that theme going.
Okay, it's like 5 questions right there.
Yeah, it was.
No, I definitely, that was my intention early on, was to do East Coast, and I guess the main reason for that was with the team being based east, and then also me living in Florida and having a house here. I wanted to really try and like take advantage of the Florida base and just have that be. It's honestly so nice to fly out of Orlando, and you can be to all of the stadiums or the cities or whatever like before noon. Usually it's pretty easy to get an early flight. And even if I'm not doing press day, like I can go there and kind of hang out and watch the guys ride for press. So, and I also think the dirt just being a little bit softer, a little ruddier. I think that's kind of in my favor, especially with the corner speed that I've had on the Suzuki this year. I think that really helps me out a lot. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the tracks have been, obviously I've only done 3 so far, but I was actually really surprised with Detroit last weekend. I've never raced Detroit when it was that soft. It's always been like hard pack and kind of slick, like a West Coast type of track. I'm sure you can vouch for that, AJ.
Yep.
So that was kind of weird.
I think did that have to do with the no lime? I would assume, but
no, they put lime. In
I thought they put back. Yeah,
they did this weekend, but I thought they did not in Detroit. Maybe I could be wrong.
Well, that was this weekend.
This
Detroit.
was this weekend.
Oh shoot! What am I talking?
Oh my God!
I'm talking.
Somebody call WADA.
Do you have coffee this morning? You missed your cup of coffee.
No. I'm thinking. What am I thinking? Dallas. Dallas has never been that soft either.
2 weeks ago, yeah, that was Dallas. Dude, how about in our first time practice, the finish line corner? How gnarly was that for you?
Smokes. Wait,
Dude,
we're talking
like
Dallas now. Obviously.
We're talking Dallas. Okay, that was like an enduro cross section right there.
Were you tire tapping those 3 rollers? Because I sure was not.
I was because I'm talented.
I was standing up around the corner. I wouldn't even sit down in the turn. I would stand up with both feet on the pegs and then just go roll, 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 and then seat bounce the finish line. I was so happy when they fixed it before our last time qualifier. That was brutal.
Yeah, no, I was the same. I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through the night show, like, because I pumped up pretty bad in that practice, and the ruts were brutal. And I remember going through that section. I was like, dude, there's no way it's gonna be like this at night, like for the night show. I hope not. So and they fixed it, so I was pumped.
Now, shoot, I have so many questions here because that track definitely. We're talking Dallas, and I don't know why we're going to talk Dallas, but that track as it progressed through the night. It got easier and easier because it seemed to get more and more hard packed. So what began as a really difficult technical track because of the ruts actually became pretty easy. Did you kind of find that was the case?
Yeah, I've kind of thought like the first 3 races for the most part have been pretty easy. I thought Detroit, like walking the track, I thought this was going to be the first technical track that we've had, and for the East Coast 250 guys anyways. And even they've been kind of, I guess, on top of like track prep and all that stuff. So it hasn't been too bad and hasn't broken down as bad as I thought it would. And even the whoops in Detroit they looked pretty legit for our track walk. And then by the time, the nitro came around, they were pretty basic again. So I don't know, kind of, I guess
They were
surprise.
different every time we hit them, though. I mean, every race we went out, it was the characteristics of the whoops was totally different, and I was taking a completely different line. I don't know if it was the same for you, but were you skimmed them all 3 races, right?
I did, but I pretty much stuck to the left all night and all day for the most part. Other than I think on my hot lap I think when I got third fastest, I went way right and just committed, brain off, and it actually worked out. But for the most part, I stuck to the left because honestly, for the nitro, you could not have paid me to go to the right side.
That's
They
the
were
only
pretty
side I
brutal.
rode. I never touched the left. I was only on the right,
Man,
and I
you
was
gotta
afraid to
figure that
try
out.
anywhere else. Yeah. You know how it is. Like you get stuck in one line in the whoops, and you just don't want to search around. I was just stuck there
Pretty
the whole
much,
time.
pretty much. Well, and yeah, there's like lappers and stuff by the end of the third main for sure. They were a little bit worse, and like they kept going on the left side, and it was kind of pissing me off because I was like, it would really throw me out of my rhythm. But whatever.
You know what I noticed for the third mains watching him back on TV, and I didn't realize this in person, is your guy, and I don't know if this is true or not. It seemed like for the 250s, the track was rough. Like you guys had some serious ruts in the turn before the whoops and the turn right after, and they fixed them for our main. So we actually had what seemed like a far more fresh track for that third main. Did you notice that, or did it
Yeah,
not
I
even
did
affect you?
because you guys they were 3 and out of the corner before the finish line there, that 3 single. A lot of the top guys were 3 and out of that, no problem. And I was like, dude, they must have fixed that corner because in our race, that corner was so gnarly. It was hard to just double that section.
Right, you could see it on TV. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait a second. That was a perfectly fresh turn for us. So for once, the 450s had a good track. Because usually by the time I see it, it's a disaster. Especially being in B group. By the time I get out there and time qualifying, the track is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a lot of track prep this weekend, which I was happy because like I'm pretty sure I heard when they brought the dirt in, it was frozen. So I think that's why we saw more ruts than normal in Detroit. And so yeah, if they hadn't been doing that track prep, the track would have been just ridiculous to ride. And I think that probably the roughest that anyone saw the track was for our third 250 main, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, what were your thoughts on the split lanes?
Yeah, I thought it was cool in theory. Once we kind of went out there, it was like there wasn't really any passes that ever got made there.
Where'd you go?
From my knowledge,
stick to? Left side.
So I
3, 3,
took
1?
both sides, left or right, but I was kind of sticking to the right side most of the time and going 3-3-1, and I just thought it because we did the Dartfish program where it overlays like say my lap, fast lap with Faulkner's fast lap or Sexton's, and from everything that we saw on the data, you made up a little time like in the rhythm if you went left because you were kind of going low throughout there, but the way you came into the corner if you're on the right lane set you up better for the corner. So I kind of just stuck to the right lane all night, and I really didn't feel like I lost any time or gained any time on that side. Okay. So it was kind of give and take.
Let me interrupt you there because on the TV broadcast they actually talked about the video data, and I had this in my notes. And they didn't mention the Dartfish program specifically, but I had that in my notes here. So can you explain for people listening? They probably have no idea what we're talking about. Can you just tell us what that Dartfish program is?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It's JGR is the first team that I've been on that's had that technology, but essentially they just like have a camera that's overlaying and they're filming the entire practice, so it catches everyone's lap, and so like they can take Faulkner's fast lap and they put it with my fast lap and they overlay it, so it's almost like if you're familiar with the MX First ATV video game like Ghost Mode, where you can like race the ghost. That's almost what it looks like when you're watching it. But it's a really good way to just see, like, for example, like I might lose a bike length on the dragon back, but then I crush a corner and I get that bike length back, and it's like you're kind of 2 laps are racing each other around the whole track. And it's just a good way to kind of find out what's the fast line around every corner or section.
Gosh, I would love to be able to use that. There's so many times where, and as a privateer, we're sitting there guessing on, we're just eyeing it up and thinking this may look faster than the other, but you never really have solid proof.
Yeah.
Hey, AJ, you know what's going to happen if if you started using that is you would start to use it and then you'd forget to use it, just like your Lit Pro, which you had all last year and used 0 times.
Well, and the problem with the Lit Pro though is it's kind of confusing. Where the Dartfish program, you're just watching a ghost, so it's super, I would imagine, self-explanatory. Like you could just sit there and every little spot. Like you hit a little bump and all of a sudden Faulkner has a fender on you, and then Troll rails a corner and all of a sudden he's got a fender on Faulkner, and you could see exactly what's happening.
The visual has got to help.
Yeah.
Now, did you overlay? Go ahead.
I was going to agree with you on that one. Like the Lit Pro data, there's too much data with the Lit Pro. And like I was finding that with like Baker's Factory last year, like we download all the Lit Pro data and then it's like a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then you just don't have the time to like sit down and dissect everything. Mm-hmm. Where this is like instant feedback. You're visually seeing what's happening. And I think that's way more beneficial than any type of like metrics, like speed wise or feet that you could get from a Lit Pro thing,
Did you guys happen to see the Science of Supercross from the race day live this week with Savachi's breakdown with Cowie? Did anybody see that?
No.
On the video, as far as data goes?
Yeah. Did you see it on the I think it was in qualifying that they showed it, but I mean,
no, then I didn't.
It was, I can't even imagine. There's like so much there that it would have to confuse you more than it helped you as a racer. I would think, like they're plugging in, they're seeing throttle position, wheel slippage, things that like, there's so much that's happening on a track in any given lap. I mean, it's got to overwhelm these guys.
Yeah. Are you talking about any of that?
Data. No, I mean, I'm all for data, but that's just too much to really dissect on race day, to be honest.
So you come in from a pre-practice or a time qualifier and you go up into the semi and you watch the Dartfish program. Is that kind of your deal?
Yeah, like Chad, Justin, KP, and I, that's basically our go-to. That's kind of all we really look for is I mean, it's hard to really replace that visual, like the video, that visual feedback. I think that's kind of the best way to go about it.
Right. Now, I'd imagine you overlaid it because the biggest section for me and the confusion on where to go was the on-off section and then whether you go inside or outside in the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a clean lap, what was the fastest way, according to Dartfish, to get through there?
Well, for sure, going double and then jumping onto the on-off. And then for me, I mean, I laid down third fastest lap time, I think, of 47.5 in practice. And I was going inside double single and then hitting the Supercross triple. So I guess that was pretty close because I think I was only a 10th off of Faulkner at that time. And from what we saw on the data or on the video, like Chase, he was a 47.1, but he gained like 3 bike lengths on me and Faulkner in the whoops alone.
Oh, wow.
And
none of you were doing 3-1 before the finish, or was somebody doing that?
Faulkner was. So Faulkner did the 3-1 before the finish. So if I had done that on my fast lap, I would have been faster than Faulkner. Chase didn't do it on his fast lap, so he basically got that 47.1 by just crushing the whoops. He was like absolutely crushed the whoops because actually it was pretty cool from what we saw. Like I was matching Tomac for the whoops for like speed in the whoops. I was the same as Tomac, actually a little faster. And me and Faulkner were about the same, but then Chase was literally the fastest one all day in practice in the whoops, like 250 and 450 combined.
Really? And where was Reed? Was Reed faster than you?
No, actually, the 250 guys, well, for me, I think I was faster than both Hill and Reed in practice. I think, like Reed was 48s and Hill was maybe like a 47.9 or 48.1 or something. I forget exactly.
That's so cool. I wish that would be so fun to overlap all that stuff and look at it. Now, did you stick with the double jump onto the table all 3 main events?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much.
Okay, because I started with the inside roll on off, and then everyone came over and told me that I had to stop doing it. so I started going double jump on, but then when the main events came, I resorted back to the roll on off, just because I thought it would be a little bit less or difficult for me to do every single lap, as far as arm pump goes. And I really just judging based on the guys doubling in front of me, they had so much setup time that they had to do in the corner before the little 90. And I was using the far left side of that triple single where it wasn't rutted and I was able to really scrub and push through. I felt like it kind of evened itself out. Where the
Sounds
people
like
that
we
had
need
to.
a riding coach.
Yeah, you want to be my riding coach?
So I was on Friday. I got there early and I went to the stadium and I watched press day. And we were timing like me and Freckle. So me and Freckle, we were kind of reconciling our differences because he took me out in
I was
Dallas.
going to
Oh, right.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
Freckle
like
is
watching.
Oldenburg, by the way. People listening.
Yeah. Mitch
Yeah.
Oldenburg. I like the kid, but I was pissed at him when he took me out. But we were watching and we were timing it, and it was like 3/10 faster in press day to go 2 and then jump on off versus going like roll on off. 3/10
was
faster.
Really?
Yeah. So
Now,
like I doubled right from the get go the whole day. I was going double.
Yeah. See, I didn't even think about doing it and had no idea that anyone was doing it until after the first time qualifier. And then everyone came up and told me that I had to do it. I was like, oh, I didn't realize people were doing it. What about the 3-1 before the finish? How much faster was that?
Oh, I didn't get a time on that, but I would say that was like
it seems
probably another
significant.
2 or 3 tenths at least, because I only did it like 3 times all day, and it was just in the second main when I was behind Smitty.
Oh, you did jump it?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, it was big for a 250.
Second gear, obviously. Do you even use first gear on a 250?
No, not really.
Okay, because that was my issue with that jump. Is there was a couple times where that corner was pretty fresh, but the gearing I have on my bike and having a stock transmission, like I'm terrified to use first gear. Second gear, I felt like I wouldn't have had it. It would have just been lugging up the face.
Yeah. Have you thought about going up a tooth in the rear?
I already had a 51. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The new Cowie, like even with the 51, it's just second gear is so long, which is good for starts, I guess. But it's tough out of those tight turns, and I found it really difficult in the rhythms because second gear I'm like literally quarter throttle to jump everything, and it's just a recipe for arm pump. Okay, before we stray too far away from this topic, because you just mentioned him, what did Oldenburg have to say about that takeout, and what were your thoughts on it? And after watching it back in live time, talk to me.
He was pretty much right from the get go. He felt bad. He apologized. Kind of a racing incident. He didn't. I mean, if you watch the replay, he just jumped in and like he just kind of clipped me. It wasn't like he was setting up to try and clean me out or anything like that. So, obviously in heat of the moment, I was pissed off and like came off the track after the main was done, and I just was like, what the heck? Like I was pissed at him. Like why
did you say did you say what the heck, or did you swear?
I was cussing at him for sure.
You actually did? Oh my god.
Yeah, wow. I was cussing. But I was like, dude, I mean, I went to his wedding, he was in my wedding, so it's like I can't be mad at him for very long. So we got
but he did say it was an accident, sort of.
Yeah, pretty much. He did. So
yeah,
I forgave him.
Yeah, so I get. I mean, I didn't watch that one back that much to really be able to analyze it. I just saw the quick clip and I was like, ooh, that was kind of brutal.
Yeah, well, and it didn't help him in any way, since Bowers kept replaying the video.
I know, right? That wasn't great publicity there, no.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, so I want to get into like the 250 East breakdown in a minute, but I wouldn't be doing the voice of the fans any justice if I didn't ask about this question. You're now on the same team with Chad Reed. Chad Reed had a great weekend, by the way, and it was awesome to see. But if you caught his little speech at the end, his helmet, he has censored all over his helmet. There's we talked about it last week on the podcast, the new policy from the AMA about CBD products. I'm not sure if you were affected by that at all, but do you guys have a team policy now with regard to the CBD products? I know a lot of fans are talking about that, and it's kind of all the rage on social media right now. And Chad Reed is front and center of that. He's endorsed by CBD products. I don't know if you could speak to that at all as far as just like the team mentality around it.
I wonder, actually, I had a question. Did he thank the CBD company on the podium by chance?
No, he
held
didn't.
His helmet
he
up
said,
and he said
he
you
couldn't.
know who you are.
Yeah, he said, I
Oh, okay.
support anybody who supports the sport. I can't mention him by name or something to that effect. Then he encouraged everybody to go check out social media to figure out what that's all about. But if you follow anybody and you're involved in the sport, you knew what it meant. I mean, this is, Dean Wilson got affected by it. Obviously Chad Reed. And it seems like, I mean, this is a product that a lot of the guys use. I mean, AJ uses it. I'm not sure if you have any CBD products for, recovery or anything like that, but it seems to be pretty common now to use at least some sort of CBD product. So I think they need to get with the times personally, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was any team policy that you could speak to or what the thought is around the rig.
Yeah, I think in terms of like JGR's philosophy, I think Coy is like not a big fan of marketing CBD. But then again, you have Chad Reed, who's marketing pretty heavily outside of the race day. So as for me though, personally, like I've been aware of and been using CBD for 3 years now, and I mean I love it. I think it has a really good place in anyone's recovery protocol, and like for sleep and all that stuff, pain management, inflammation. Um, you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I just went really quiet. But
It's because we're listening.
yeah, I heard like some weird noise, but no, it's like CBD is I think is just amazing for what it does for an athlete. But I just think that really I think the NBC and Feld are like behind the times. I know NASCAR's already kind of approved it. I think there's a lot of gray area there with like the FDA. I know I got an email from the AMA like last week, I think, and they were trying to clear the water and just saying that they're waiting for the FDA to approve it because it's not necessarily legal in all 50 states right now. I mean, regardless, like CBD doesn't have any THC in there, so you're not getting the psychoactive properties of weed or marijuana.
Yep.
So really, you're just getting all the pain management, and inflammation benefits. So I don't know. I just think that they're definitely behind the times a little bit. I feel like they should have been on top of this because it's not like CBD is a new product by any means. So it's kind of sad in my eyes that they're just now
Right.
like trying to make decisions in 2019. You know?
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that NBC is a new network, and I think I've clarified this before. I do happen to know that it isn't necessarily NBC or Feld. I think they're bending to the FCC because what's going to happen is if they do broadcast something with a CBD product, because it's like such a gray area with the law, then the FCC does have the potential to slap them a fine. So I think it's more of like them conforming to that and avoiding the potential fines than it is like any sort of like moral or like philosophical difference that NBC and Feld has against it.
Sure.
Yeah, in our Ryder Feld meeting this last weekend, or maybe it was the weekend before, the VP of marketing, I don't know who he was at Feld, but he was explaining to us why NBC can't air it, and they said that Chad Reed was involved in a battle in the heat race or something, and they had to show, because he actually had the CBD MD logo on his helmet. They had to show him from like the Skycam view from panned all the way out just so you couldn't see the logo. So NBC had to kind of do that on the fly just to avoid any fines, something like that, I guess. So yeah, that's the problem. So, and I think a lot of people jump on AMA or Feld and think it's them, but in this case, it actually is not.
Yeah.
And it's just an unnecessary distraction too. I mean, it takes away from like the fan experience. Obviously, like they're supporters of you guys, these CBD companies, they're supporters of Supercross. And, it's unfortunate that it's come to this. I don't want to beat a dead horse because I know we've talked about it several times already, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it just because of high profile Chad is and the situation that went down this past weekend.
Yeah, no, I think it's just kind of a unique stage. I think in a few years from now, like CBD will be legal and we'll see a lot more of it. I just think that it's relatively new for sports, and it's obviously like you have these energy drinks, Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar, that are not necessarily that healthy, and they're getting promoted like water. But then you have something like CBD, which actually has a lot of therapeutic benefits, but it's not legal right now. So it's just kind of one of those things that I think it will. In the future, it won't be an issue, but right now it's just kind of a very fine line that people are trying to tread so they don't get in trouble.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention the
point.
Energy drinks. It's funny you should mention the energy drinks. Because now, right now, are you still affiliated with Red Bull in any way?
No.
Okay. When you were affiliated with Red Bull, I think a lot of people are watching the post races, they're getting handed Monsters, they're getting handed Red Bulls. What's in those containers when you guys get handed them at the end of the race?
Yeah, it's just definitely all water.
What's funny is I
okay,
had that in my notes, which is hilarious. I said, speaking of post-race nutrition, that's not Monster Energy in those cans on the podium.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
contrary
water.
to popular belief.
I know. I think the common sense would say, like, why are you getting off a track? You're exerting yourself to the max, and you're just like getting for a Red Bull. It's like just carbonated and full of sugar and crappy. Like that would just make me want to puke.
Yeah. I'm all for getting like sugar down the hatch when you're, because it's not the best. It's not the worst thing to have after a high intensity race like that. But there's so
Oh,
many
for sure.
better things to do and have, and there's just a lot of junk in those energy drinks. But yeah, normally it's just like a refillable bottle that you just put water in before you go up there. So
Speaking of nutrition, and I know you're a nutrition nerd and a fitness nerd. Talk to us on, I don't know if you watched the broadcast back or if you've noticed him doing this in the past, but Faulkner was having pixie sticks after each of the races. Can you
I heard
explain?
that this weekend. Is that the first time I've ever heard of that, actually?
First time I've seen
So-
it, first time I've heard of it, but can you explain the benefits, or do you know what the benefits of that would be?
Well, I mean, I guess it just goes down to like there's a really 100 different ways to get sugar in your system, and I mean, you're burning carbs, burning glycogen, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm all for like a high fat diet. Like I think there's a big difference between a performance diet and a health diet, and I think if you really want to be healthy and you're not an athlete that's training at very high heart rates throughout the week, I think going high fat and limiting your carb intake is a great way for health and longevity. But I think if you're an athlete at this level, well, really an elite athlete at any level,
Mm-hmm.
carbs and sugar are not necessarily bad if they're timed, if the timing is right. So it's like right before a race. Gels, I think, are. I mean, honestly, I think pixie sticks. That's just something where the kid isn't that smart. Like I got to say, you're not really that smart when it comes to nutrition if you're having pixie sticks. I mean, like I don't care if he's winning
Because
or
there's
not.
other way
Okay.
to get that sugar, right?
Well,
Yeah,
there
like there's
is.
other ways.
It's like a kind of a last resort type thing. But you're
Yeah,
right. I mean, that is
yeah.
very well said. For every calorie you burn, it's what? No, for every 100 calories, it's 4 grams of carbohydrate, right? So
Yeah.
you need to replenish those carbohydrates in the form of sugar,
Yeah.
simple sugar. So it makes sense, like from like a physiological standpoint, but
Yeah.
pixie sticks is probably not the best
No,
option.
and like I don't even think there's much in terms of like sugar in those things. Like a normal gel, for example, you can get from like a cycling or a running store is going to have about 100 calories and maybe like 23 or 25 grams of carbs, and that's going to last you maybe like 7 to 10 minutes. So you're thinking we're racing for 15 or 20 minutes. So I mean, you're burning that off like halfway through the main, that gel. But like the pixie sticks, like I just really, like I'm saying, and then also the gels have like they have electrolytes and amino acids and things that also help like your muscle breakdown.
Caffeine
So
sometimes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So like the whole pixie sticks things, I just think is a little like
Maybe he just likes pixie sticks, guys.
yeah. Which if that's the case, by all means, like be my
Hey.
guest, have at it.
It's working.
Yeah.
What do you change going from a normal race structure to the Triple Crown as far as nutrition goes? Were you winging it? Did you have a game plan going in?
Yeah, I definitely had some game plan. I mean, for me on race day, I really try and just keep. I eat a lot. So I think before the first main, I just had like a banana and a gel, and then I came back for the second main, and I had like a piece of toast with peanut butter and another caffeine gel, and then before the third main, I just had a Kind bar. So I mean, pretty simple. It's not necessarily like I'm eating a lot, but I'm just eating consistently small amounts, trying to like not make sure I dip too low with my glycogen. So
At what point did you have your dinner, so to speak, or do you not do that on race day?
no,
Do you have, like,
I had chicken thighs and sweet potato. I had a couple of those like right after the third practice, like maybe half hour after the third practice. So not too early to where I'm like starving come the night show, but like kind of right in the middle, so where I'm not, still full from the meal for the night show. So
now you're a big high fat guy. You still are, right? Are you using bulletproof and stuff like that, or?
yeah, not so much. I mean, I've definitely been there, done that, and tried it. But I just kind of kind of came back more into a balance of things. I just, like I said earlier, I think it's just there's a difference between a health diet and a performance diet, and the way we eating carbs isn't necessarily that great maybe for your longevity, but I think that for performance you just need them. You really do need them just to be a better athlete on the track, especially Supercross.
Have you tried any ketogenic diets, or have you tried to go into ketosis or anything?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In 16 I think when I got second in outdoors, I kind of followed like more of a high fat, low carb thing for that year. And then in 17, in the off season, like 16, 17 leading into Supercross, I did East Coast, and I was like really strict keto, like 50 grams a day of carbs, and really, really did my best job, I think. But I always was like kind of missing that high intensity, high end. I just never felt quite that good. And then I had some blood tests done, and I had some like really high levels with my liver that was kind of concerning. And literally as soon as I started eating, like literally as simple as just having a banana before practice, things like that kind of helped to bring my blood levels back into check, and everything was normal. So that whole experience just taught me that it's like, okay, keto may be great and all these studies are one thing, but you just, nothing wrong with having a banana before you go ride a dirt bike.
Right. I will say for me, well, from being around me a lot, Alex, at club, like my diet used to be absolute garbage, and now I would never be as strict as you are. Or, even probably now I'm not nearly as strict as you are, but I've definitely cleaned it up. What I have every morning in my protein shake, and then before I go to bed in my protein shake, I'm putting in a cap full of the Brain Fuel Bulletproof, and I feel great. Like I feel really good on that stuff. I feel like it's helping me sleep when I have it in the morning with my protein shake. I feel like my energy lasts a long time. I don't have the cravings that I used to.
But I was always shocked, AJ. You like during the off season, you'd come home, we'd ride together, and you would show up, and you had like a bowl of cereal in the morning and nothing all afternoon, and then you would have a salt pill. Like you would just take a salt pill, and you'd go out, and we would. I remember that time we rode at Rocky Hill at the track, and then like I don't even think you ate dinner, and we went on a night mountain bike ride right afterward. And I think like all you had was like a bowl of cereal and a salt pill.
Poor AJ, just completely lost soul.
Yeah. I am a lost guy.
Well, it's a good thing those days are behind us. Hopefully.
Yeah, man, at club, just thinking about what I would wake up and eat, and the fact that I was getting a lot of seat time in, then I don't ride it at all really anymore. So I was expending a lot of energy, and I'm waking up and having cereal and eating Nilla wafers throughout the day.
Just an idiot.
No, AJ, be honest. How much of your diet has changed as a direct result of listening to Joe Rogan's podcast?
A little bit of it, but a little bit of it was also from like seeing what Amart and those guys would eat at club, and of course I would never take it to the extreme that you do, Alex. But
no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, that's why he's on the factory team, and true. I mean, well, we don't have to go there.
True. But like there's certain things that I've done, like I was drinking milk a ridiculous amount. I'd wake up, I'd have my bowl of cereal, I'd have my 2 protein shakes a day. With milk, I would have a snack of cereal probably at some point throughout the day, or like a midnight snack at night. I'd have a bowl of cereal. I totally cut milk out. So now anytime in my protein shakes, I have almond milk instead of milk. I feel like that alone has helped. I don't really eat as pasta. I mean, if I have bread, it's typically gluten-free bread. And that's really it. And just like doing that alone, I feel much, much better.
Well, and kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, it's you can learn a lot through podcasts. Like Joe Rogan, that's a good resource for nutrition. I know he's had like Dr. Rhonda Patrick on there, and you can learn a lot from people like that. I think Ben Greenfield's another good podcast that I listen to quite frequently. But I'm not like I gotta say, AJ, I'm not the biggest fan of protein shakes. Like I haven't had a protein shake in probably a good 2 years. I try and shy away from that. Like I really do think you get enough protein from whether it's eggs, bacon, sausage, chicken, pork, fish, whatever. Like, we're basically having protein in every meal, and your
for
liver
me it's laziness.
Handle. Yeah, which is all fine, Danny. But I mean, your liver can only handle like 25, 30 grams at max per meal and I just don't think people need as much protein as they put out there in advertising and stuff. So I'm not a big fan of protein shakes for sure. I think essential amino acids are a great way to get those amino acids, because that's really what you're wanting, is the amino acids for muscle recovery and stuff like that. But yeah, good job with the protein shakes, AJ.
Yeah, so for me, it's just like I don't want to sit there and cook, so I'm just gonna throw a couple things in the blender, fire it up, and at least it's better than a bowl of cereal.
Yep, just
But-
laziness at its finest.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
He's too busy being the dog butler throughout the day.
I'm a
So
dog dad. You have 2 cats that you don't have to worry about, and they do their own thing. I got to take this dog out. We got
Guarantee you, Bear eats better than you. Guarantee it.
Yeah, he just had a healthy dinner with some salmon in it. Yeah, he lives a life. Hey, I have a few more questions, but I don't want to keep you for too long here.
No worries.
But question: did you watch the broadcast back, or did you not?
I watched a little bit of it Saturday night, actually, after the race.
Jeez, committed.
Wow, dude, I was all freaking revved up. I had too much caffeine in my system, so like I went to bed like 12:30.
Man. So in the broadcast before, I think it was the 3rd main, they talked about Faulkner's hole shot device being stuck down through the first rhythm, or at least the first jump in the first rhythm.
Okay.
Did you experience that at all, considering it was just a 90-degree right into it?
Well, funny enough, actually, you say that, because Chase Sexton, he was tripling from that. He was 3-3ing that right off the start. He did it in practice, and I think he did it a couple times in the main. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm doing that, because I'm not going to go 3 that thing, because you don't know if your hole shot device is even popped out, really.
Right.
So I never did that, but props to the guys that thought that was normal or would do that.
Jeez, yeah, because
that's gnarly.
When they talked about that, I could attest to it, because in the LCQ, when I got the hole shot from the right side of the doghouse, like the angle I had at the first turn, I didn't really hit the brakes that hard. I just swooped the corner. So
yeah, it didn't look like you hit him at all.
No, my hole shot device never came undone until like I landed off of the first double, and the way it reacted was really weird. Like I pushed through the first one all kinds of weird, and then when I landed and it actually popped out, it kind of almost like looped me on the next double, and I was like, thank God I didn't attempt to triple in there. It would have got real ugly.
Yeah.
And that's a scare. That's a danger, I think, with just what are you for or against 90s as a first turn?
I think they're kind of sketchy, to be honest. Like, I was kind of on the short end of the stick, I guess, with coming from the outside. I started next to just to the left of the box in the first one, and Chase pushed me wide, and like I said, I went off the track right there. So, it was not in my favor this time around. But I just think like the left 180s are the way to go in terms of like just being, everyone gets through there for the most part safe, and you have more space to navigate through that turn where it's so short. Like if an average person was to come walk the track and see how narrow the first turn is when you have a 90, I don't know, it's just kind of sketchy.
Are you shifting third on a first straightaway like that, or are you leaving it in second?
I'm pretty sure I shifted third.
Probably just for like a split second, and
then
back
it can't
down.
be for long, but I definitely did shift, because I'm typically shifting to third like about 15 feet out of the gate, so it's just kind of automatic.
Wow, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon. I mean, on a 250, it's because you just kind of have to,
Yeah.
And that was one thing I think after Minneapolis, the guys told me like I actually needed to stay in second longer, and I was working on it during the week, and I was trying to like not shift soon, but it's like so automatic for me, because for so many years now I've been taught to like, and with the factory bikes, like you kind of have to shift as early as you can, and it was like really hard for me to try and change that, because it's like muscle memory at this point.
Speaking of factory bikes, what type of hole shot device, buttons, traction control, what does the JGR bike have that you use on the starts? Or do they just kind of tell you what RPM to be at? Do you have a light? What are you using?
Yeah, I guess it's nothing really too rocket science. We just have a map that we kind of run that I think it's like 13.2 or whatever RPMs, and you basically just press the button and then you rev the bike up, and once it gets to about 13.2, it'll start cutting out, which just kind of tells you like, okay, come down a little bit from there, So it's
Oh.
kind of just a way to make sure you're at the appropriate RPM
And
for
you're
the
still
start.
responsible for feeding the clutch out how you should. It just kind of guides you
Yeah.
on where to be RPM wise.
Yep, and that's something that honestly, I've been kind of frustrated with the last 2 weekends because I was really good on the KTM about feeding the clutch, and I feel like I kind of
Mm-hmm.
lost that. It's
It's
not
hard.
that I lost it, but it's like a really
You get
fine
antsy.
technique. Yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure, and like you have to really keep that thing engaged as much as you can to get a whole shot.
You know what Phil taught me? Do you use one or two fingers on the clutch
2
on the
fingers.
start?
Yep,
Now on the
2
track,
fingers.
do you use one or two when you're
1.
actually riding? Okay, same. So, and I use one on the track, and I used to only use one on the start. And then I remember, I'll never forget this, and I don't know why it actually stuck in my head. I guess because it worked. Phil saw me using one finger on the clutch at club one day, and he told me to use two because I guess just the strength of the two will help you feed it out a little bit slower without you having to consciously think about it.
Sure.
And I guess that's the thought behind it, right? I don't know. But ever
Yeah, it
since
just
then,
gives you more
I've had an
feel.
easier time. Right. It's still hard, but it does help get that little bit more feel and just being a little bit more patient with the release, because especially on this metal gate, holy cow, it doesn't take much to get ahead of yourself and just dump that clutch, and next thing you know, you're wheeling.
Oh, for sure.
How does the hydraulic clutch play into that feel?
On the KTM with the hydraulic clutch, it was that thing's temperamental. Like it's so hit or miss. It's very, very like I don't know how you describe it other than just like really quick with the release.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very challenging to trying to get that. It took me probably like kind of half the year in 17 because I was with the team for 2 years, like half the year to kind of get used to the hydraulic clutch and the way it fed off the start. And then once I got it down, it was like if you got it down just right, it was like an automatic hole shot because the bike was very smooth. The power band on the KTM was very smooth, so if you had the clutch release just right, it was literally like you're guaranteed to get the hole shot. And the Suzuki
Just
going
like a
back to
tractor.
yeah, well, it was just so smooth. Like the Yamaha
Mm-hmm.
always had, it seemed like the Star bike, like 20 feet out of the gate, it would just randomly wheelie, and like we all struggled with it. My brother Cooper and myself, like AP, we all had this like freaking wheelie, and I don't know if it was just the way the engine was with the crank or whatever, but it would wheelie really bad, like 20 feet out, where the KTM was really, really smooth. And the Suzuki is more along the lines of the KTM in terms of like smooth power, but I just haven't quite. I kind of lost my feel for that clutch delivery. So, you saw KP get the whole shot. I think in Dallas in the 250 main, Kyle Peters got the whole shot, and then
Yeah, his
Jimmy
starts
D's
have been
gotten a
good.
couple whole shots. Yeah, so it's definitely there. The Suzuki can whole shot. You just kind of got to master that clutch feed.
It's hard when when the board goes sideways and you get that feeling like you just want to go. It's, for me at least, it's hard to like talk yourself into just letting that clutch out slow. You know what I mean? Because it's a fine line between like that reaction time and just wanting to explode out of the gate, and then like reminding yourself, okay, I just gotta kind of be a little patient with this.
Mm-hmm.
Especially me
it's
being on a
definitely
450.
tricky.
Like
Yeah,
that
you should
450
know better
doesn't
by
even,
now.
yeah, it doesn't even feel me on it. So
You should just
it's,
know better by now, AJ.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I stink.
how old are you now?
I don't want to talk about it. 25. How old are you is the question.
Oh man, you're
Are you
getting up
30
there.
yet?
Plus 25. Dude, I'm 29. Yeah.
When do you turn 30?
Oh, don't want to talk about it.
Soon?
Next year.
Tell AJ what he should be doing for insurance next year when he
Oh
loses it.
gosh, really don't want to talk about that.
You're finally
Oh,
off your parents' health insurance.
Not yet, but soon, a couple more months.
Oh man, just a baby.
Well, it's what.
I might
So
have to
what do you
retire.
do, Alex? Because we've talked about this before we even had a podcast. That was like one of those things that him and I would banter about. It was like, what do the top guys do for insurance? Does JGR provide insurance for you guys, or how does that all factor in?
No, it's just an individual thing. We're all kind of like independent contractors, I guess. So, yeah, I have my own health insurance, and actually, my wife teaches 5th grade down here in Claremont, so we have pretty good health insurance through her school.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh,
yeah,
so you're
so
under
that works
her.
out pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So
Okay, that works. But now, what about the guys that aren't married or can't go under their wives' health insurance? Are they just,
they buy their own insurance?
they're just
Yeah,
forking out a ton of money?
just like in the real world, they just got to go get their own insurance. But I will say the 450 teams, a lot of the mechanics are like under employment or whatever, so they get the benefits, the health insurance, all that stuff, dental. And that's one of the perks of being like a 450 mechanic is you get all that stuff. JGR, Honda, KTM, I know they're all like that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
Well,
did
AJ,
not.
you'll be married soon, and you could jump on Allie's insurance, and you'll be all set.
Yep, that's why I got her the ring, insurance purposes.
There you go. And tax credits.
Yeah. Your head's in
I
it for the right reasons, for sure.
Yeah, you know.
Definitely.
I had a couple more questions, and then we can let you go.
I have a question. So, how do you beat Austin Forkner?
Yeah,
Because you're a fast guy. You're up at the top. But Austin is just, he seems like he's on another level. So what's your strategy for competing with him, and how do you adjust your program for the rest of the season to beat him?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, there's a few of us that are close. I think myself, Chase Sexton, Smitty, Justin Cooper, I feel we have the speed to run with Forkner, but I mean, the kid's just, frankly, kind of making us look bad. Because it's so easy the way he's winning, and then he wins all three of the Triple Crowns. So like, we're fired up, and I know me and Chase, being that we train and ride together, we were talking, and like, he used to be obviously racing Forkner as an amateur. So I mean, I really think it's going to take the kids. He's been absolutely perfect with his starts and his execution of the race, and it's going to take either a mistake or just getting up there on the start and being there right away and not letting him get away, because I don't think he necessarily has us covered speed wise to where he's unbeatable. I just think that he's been so perfect with his starts and his first lap that you're going to have to basically just execute it as well as he is right off the bat and try and get up there and bang some bars, because he really hasn't been under pressure at all.
No,
yet.
he hasn't really
had such a
technically
lead.
He hasn't really faced adversity, if you look at it that way. I think if just one of you guys would hole shot him and cause him, like force him into a battle for a couple laps, it could totally change
Yeah, exactly.
the outlook.
Because just trying to get him under pressure, I think, would be the best thing.
And you've seen the few times that he's sort of been under pressure, he's human. He makes some mistakes. Kind of like AC, where and I've talked about it, it's almost like that overconfidence of absolutely believing you're the best. If you're not up on the top of the board in time qualifying, or even if you're in second place for a lap in the heat race, you could tell he doesn't want to be there, and he's willing to almost kind of ride that edge to get there at all costs. So he's somebody's got to hold
dangerous
shot him
right now. Yeah.
And the thing with watching him too, like yourself, Chase Sexton, Justin Cooper, and Jordan Smith, for that matter, are four guys that are like the epitome of perfect riding technique. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think for the most part.
And Forkner, I would say, is not. I mean, he's wicked fast, and there's not much that he doesn't do amazing, but he definitely makes mistakes and he pushes the limits, and there's certain things that I think could be adjusted, where you guys, Chase Sexton especially, I love the way that kid rides. I mean, all of you guys really look effortless in your riding. Do you think you could just find that next level of aggression, or do you not really have that next little bit of pushing the limits, or is what we're seeing you pushing the limits, and it actually, to the outside looking in, it just looks like you're on a Sunday stroll?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to look at my heart rate, obviously I'm pushing every time I'm on the track. I'm maxing at about 193, literally every time I'm on the track this past weekend. But I think for me, outdoors has been my jam. I've been second overall twice in the series, and like I know I can get the job done in terms of being on the podium every weekend outdoors. But so Supercross has been more of my weakness. So for me, like every race that I get under my belt, it kind of helps improve the confidence and just kind of, it's kind of nice to be walking home Sunday in the airport being healthy. So for me, I think it's more about just getting as many races as I can under my belt and like getting closer and closer every weekend. Like this past weekend in Detroit, I qualified third, and I was only literally less than a tenth off of Austin's fast time. So, I mean, I don't think he's by any means unbeatable or necessarily in another level. I think he's just really made he's made all the right choices in terms of getting a good start, executing the first few laps fast, and just getting a gap and managing it. But I don't think, I definitely think I can keep building and I can be there. I've had a lot of positive experiences, obviously, with outdoors, like Southwick being literally 10 or 15 seconds back and like hunting him down in the second moto. And unfortunately I took us
And
both
taking him out.
but yeah, unfortunately, but like being able to close that gap, that does a lot for a guy's confidence. And I know I can do that in Supercross too. And like, yeah, this weekend qualifying P3 was big for me, because like being an older guy, you think maybe it's easy to just think like, oh, I'm older, I don't have the speed, but it's not really the case. And I've also done a lot in the off season to try and to mitigate that, like a lot of high intensity intervals and stuff like that, to really try and work on the fast twitch so that I can be competitive with these younger kids in Supercross.
Speaking of confidence, and this could be a very open-ended question, do you remember the exact moment, or was it just the progression? You were a privateer for a long time. For how many years? I mean, it had to have been nearly 10 years, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it was like 7 or 8 years. I want to say it was a long time.
How did you mentally make that? Like, what was the difference? I mean, because now and we talked about this with Kyle right before we got on with you. How do you change that expectation of, I want to be top 10. It'd be awesome if I could be top 10, to going out and expecting to win or get a podium?
I think, well, I talk about it a lot in interviews and stuff, but just that my 2015 year was my breakout year with the Rock River team. And I mean, I think a big factor for that though was being around my brother and Johnny O'Mara and training with Osho, because I've always enjoyed training and stuff, but I felt like I had never pushed myself outside of the comfort zone. And with Osho, I mean, the training we did, like I look back and I think it's valuable for every racer at one point in their career to find out that limit of how much they can handle, how much the body can take, physically as well as mentally. I think it's good to push yourself to that point, because that year really taught me like how much I can handle, but also where
What's too
enough is
much?
enough. Like I was like, okay, I'm never gonna have to do that much again. I think we can back it down and we can do things that are a little more quality to get the same effect. But that, just kind of being around him and going through all that training, I think is really what kind of helped me get to the next level.
And the results just sort of, I have such a bad memory, but did the results come right away that season, or did you slowly build and you're able to kind of build those expectations race by race?
Yeah, I mean, that was in 15. I think I had 2 podiums in the West Coast, like on a privateer Yamaha. So that was pretty big. And then I think podiumed a couple
Oakland,
times.
right?
Yeah,
Was
Oakland,
one of them?
Santa Clara. Yep. That was my first podium. And then I think I was top 5, like, man, most of the races outdoors, and then podiumed a few and won Budds Creek. So, like, to be on a privateer bike and be doing that was pretty big for me. And then that's what gave me the star ride too. So.
And then when you got that star ride, did it just kind of take everything to that next level confidence-wise? Or was it just a matter of you being on better equipment?
That bike was just so damn good, to be honest. Like, it just made things so freaking easy riding that bike. So, I mean, definitely, obviously, the confidence and the training. There's so many factors. You can't be competitive at this level of the sport and not have, like, you have to have everything in line and in order to be competitive, like, week in and week out. I mean, you can sneak in and be a talented guy and qualify P1 in practice or whatever, or maybe win a race in Supercross. But like, to be competitive for the whole year, you definitely have to have all the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, well, and that's what I struggle with on a smaller scale, not race winning scale, but that's been the story of my career. Is I can show up one night a year, one night a season, and actually ride like myself. But the fact that people are able to bring that intensity and every single weekend, I just don't understand it. It blows my mind.
It is an impressive thing to observe, even. Yeah.
Well,
like
and
a
that's why
Dungey.
there's only a few of them out there that are able to do that,
Yeah, and you don't even see it from, you see guys like Tomac show being human, right? I mean, even a guy like Tomac, as good as he is, he has those off days, and it's obvious when he's having them. But then there's other guys that you don't really. When did you ever see Dungey have an off day? I can't even think of one.
Well, I mean, he was kind of the rare exception. Like, I think
when he broke his back, that was it.
Well, I remember that one year at Hangtown, like, he went like, what, 10-10 or 8-10 or something. Like, he won the Supercross championship. I think it was his first year Suzuki 450 outdoors, and then he sucked at Hangtown. But I think he still won the title that year outdoors, maybe, or maybe Villapoto got him, but like he struggled at that first race. But I mean, regardless, Dungey's kind of the rare exception of people that are very consistent throughout their whole careers. But I mean, Cooper, I think about Cooper Webb, for example, he wins 3 titles in the 250 class, moves up, and he has 2 just downright terrible years in the 450 class, right? And then he gets on a new team, new bike. It's a fresh start, new atmosphere, and then he's winning what 4 through 7 of the first Supercrosses. So, like I said, you can sometimes have all the puzzle pieces, but then he was Yamaha training with Swanee for 5+ years, and maybe the kid just needed a fresh start. Sometimes the fresh start is just as good as having the right training.
Yeah, right. Sometimes just having a different color bike underneath you just gets you excited, and it's something different, especially when you're out there riding and training every single day. Did Cooper's wins and his results thus far this season surprise you, or being a racer, are you not surprised by somebody just gaining momentum like that?
Oh, it definitely surprised me. I mean, I think Cooper is probably surprised by it.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really expected him to be, I mean, as dominant as good as he has been. I mean, I think we kind of all thought like, oh, first year you kind of learn the team, learn the bike, and then second year go for championships. But yeah, it just goes to show you how good of a rider he is, I guess, that he was able to do it in his first year.
Pretty unreal. Sure. And it just shows you what confidence will do. Go ahead, Bryce.
So that's a good segue in maybe what could be our last question here, because this episode's running into the 2+ hour mark.
Damn.
But we did not get to ask Kyle what we typically ask our guests is predictions for the 450 series. So as it's shaping up right now, a lot of speculation that maybe Tomac is going to be hitting his stride after his success this past weekend with the 2 wins. Obviously, Cooper has still been consistently up top. What is your thoughts on the 450 class, and who's your pick for the championship?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think that's probably the coolest thing about this year is like I have no idea. I could lean either way. Like I could see Tomac going on a streak and winning the next 4 or 5 and getting the points lead, but I could also see Coop winning some more and I could see Coop winning this title, but I could also see Kenny getting to his breaking point where he gets pissed off and get some wins and then he's on a roll. So but I really do think it's between Eli, Kenny, and Cooper at this point.
And you don't think Marvin?
I think that's a safe bet.
Huh?
And you would say Marvin would be out of the equation?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think at this point, I don't really see him being up there. I mean, he's a great rider and all, but man, I think those top 3 kind of have the edge right now.
Yeah, it's so tough. Every week we make our guesses, and other than Bryce, I think you guessed right one time. I mean,
one time
we've been so far.
I didn't guess the order though.
We've been so far off. It's just been anybody's guess. But I tell you what,
that's just been the tale of the season, though. I mean, that everybody says the same thing. Yeah, it's just unpredictable, and that's why it's such a fun season to watch.
I've been picking Tomac. Sure. I've been picking Tomac every weekend, and so has my mechanic, who's also named AJ. But he's been picking Tomac too, and we both go, he's letting us down. But you can't bet against him either. You know what I mean? Because he could show up and ride like himself.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Cool. Well, we're 41 minutes in here. We dropped the call a couple times for you guys listening, which you won't be able to tell, but Amart got a couple phone calls. Unacceptable.
Yep. Sorry, boys.
But
unacceptable.
Hey, thank you for coming on. Thank you for, spending an hour of your time. I appreciate it. Maybe come and say hi at the races. Don't cool guy me so much.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know where you park. You're way back there.
Come on. Man, that's
I'll come
a low
looking
blow.
for you though. Yeah.
All right.
I'll come looking for you. But no, it was thanks for having me on. It's cool to come and chat about the racing and all the fun stuff we do on the weekends. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thanks, buddy. I'll see you this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Take care.